is 7:08 and we will start.
Commissioner Simmons.
Here.
Commissioner Tassinari.
Here.
Commissioner Nobis. Commissioner.
Here.
Thank Commissioner Merritt.
Here.
Commissioner Krebs.
Here.
Commissioner Gathawa.
Yeah. Here.
Commissioner Dillard.
Here.
Okay. Next, we will do the reading of the Native American Land Acknowledgement. We meet today in the community of Iowa City, which now occupies the homelands of Native American nations to whom we owe our commitment and dedication. The area of Iowa City was within the homelands of the Iowa, Meskwaki, and Sauk, and because history is complex and time goes far back beyond memory, we also acknowledge the ancient connections of many other Indigenous peoples here. The history of broken treaties and forced removal that dispossess Indigenous peoples of their homelands was and is an act of colonization and genocide that we cannot erase. We implore the Iowa City community to commit to understanding and addressing these injustices as we work toward equity, restoration, and reparations. So number 3, are there any public comments that are items that are not on the agenda? Okay.
Hi, greetings. David Sterling from Iowa City. You're not counsel, but I don't know if I need to say that. I'm just coming here because obviously a lot's been going on in town about the conflict going on in the Levant, Israel, Palestine, Gaza. And I feel like the TRC is a model for helping bridge gaps in the community and bring us all together. Might be effective at addressing the gap that's going on in the Jewish community here. Not just generationally, but there's just a large gap in interpretation of what's going on in world events. And in particular, I feel like it would really help if there was some dialogue on what the definition of anti-Semitism is. Speaking as a Jewish person myself, it only took like 5 minutes of reading for me to discover that most people of Arab heritage actually descend from the Semitic peoples themselves. So a lot of arguments about preserving the lives of Arab peoples being called anti-Semitic by various people, Jews, non-Jews, Zionists, non-Zionists. It's a messy misuse of the word. So yeah, I just wanted to bring forth that I would love to work with anybody on the commission on finding some ways to engage with the local Jewish community and start bridging that gap. Thanks.
Thank you. Was there anybody else?
I would love to. As tonight we begin looking at specific things to do. It's been on my mind for a while, and it was on the commission's mind a long time ago to weave in members of the community. Early on, the commissioners made a list of potential partners, organizations, and I just encourage you to remember that, and I know you do. It helps me as a community member to remember that there are a lot of people out here who would love to be part of this work. And maybe as you're thinking of having events and needing people who are at the door and people who are trained in being with people who are being re-triggered, that we have a community of people who would like to be part of this. So it's just reminding you that it's not all on you. And just wanting to say that because it feels good for me to remember that. The other piece is, this is like general, so I'm not talking specifically about anything specific on the agenda, But I encourage you all, as you look at information or hear information, to ask for what you need. Ask your questions, ask, well, what about? Ask anything, make requests, because this is generative. These ongoing conversations are generative, and you have a say and need to have the information you need to make decisions. Check.
Thank you. Anybody else in the room? Okay. I guess next we will be going to number 4. Approval of minutes from December 7th meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved. And seconded.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve the meeting minutes from December 7th. Commissioner Dillard,
Yes.
Gathwa,
Yes.
Commissioner Krebs,
Yes.
Commissioner Merritt,
Yes.
Commissioner Nobis,
Yes.
Commissioner Simmons,
Yes.
and Commissioner Tassinari.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay. Before we start number 5, we're actually going to do a little shifting of the agenda, and actually we're going to go to 7A about the proposed phase roadmap before we go to the MLK. So whoever was going to present for the roadmap, please pop in. Hello.
Hey, Chair, this is Larry Schooler from the facilitation team. Can you all hear me okay?
So real quick, so sorry, Larry, we wanted to go presentation type stuff first. So we have Melinda with the truth telling presentation on witnessing, and then talking through the listening posts, and then your line by line walkthrough of the roadmap. So if Melinda is here.
Hold on one second. Couldn't quite hear that very well.
Yeah, so that's Leo, one of our colleagues from ThinkPiece, who indicated that Melinda Salazar from ThinkPiece wanted to make a presentation related to an upcoming listening post event at the MLK Day commemoration. Unfortunately, I don't see Melinda connected on our Zoom, so I'm looking to see what is going on here. I see a hand from Chair Dillard, so let me cede the floor.
I just want to make sure that we are talking about the roadmap right now and not anything of like jumping into MLK Day, Leo?
No. So if you remember from our meeting, we were going to do the truth telling and witnessing presentation, and then do kind of an overview of listening posts, and then jump straight to Larry for the walkthrough of the roadmap. But do we have, Melinda would need to be promoted as a panelist.
Doesn't look like Melinda's on.
Yeah, we don't have a Melinda listed as a attendee or panelist at this time. At least not that I can see.
Right, I was thinking she might be in the docket under the Truth Telling Project, maybe?
No,
At Gmail?
not here, not that I can see.
But yeah, not online.
Okay, well, I guess we're going to jump into the roadmap. Sorry for the interruption.
That's okay. Well, I guess I'll say good evening again, and thank the commissioners and the team for the chance to share with you all some thoughts that we've assembled related to the Phase 2 roadmap. I'm a little bit distracted trying to figure out what is going on with Melinda. And I guess if Melinda can hear me, she should maybe try to exit and re-enter the meeting or reach out to Stephanie. We'll see if that can be arranged. I don't know if I should hold and see whether we can get Melinda into the meeting or if I should proceed. So I'll pause for just a minute, see what is best.
We don't even send out panel.
I think we're working on getting some people promoted as panelists. So 1 second.
I'm back, maybe.
Yeah.
Technology is not always our friend.
It occurs to me while we're waiting, Vice Chair and Commissioners, that I don't know whether Leo has had the chance to introduce himself to the commission. Leo, am I wrong that you may not have formally gotten introduced here?
I have not yet, and I
Well-
do have a face.
Well, it appears that Leo's second personality has emerged in the form of Melinda Salazar, so that's great. But maybe
Very good.
so. This is a little bit crazy tonight, so let me just reset for us for just a second. So what we have is a presentation about the Phase 2 roadmap, but tacked on to the beginning, if I understand correctly, Think Peace wanted to discuss some protocols, some ideas for listing posts that will occur across the roadmap, across the project, and they wanted to discuss that prior to the overview of the entire roadmap. I do want to defer to the commission. This is your meeting, and I just want to make sure that we're presenting in the way that makes the most sense to you all. So we could hear from Truth Telling Project as it relates to their piece, because you all do have some listening posts events, in the near term. We could do the roadmap and then come to the Truth Telling Project, or do it the other way around. Just want to get some direction.
So not to speak for Chair Dillard, but I believe she can confirm that from this is actually per the request of the commission to have this presentation go first, as kind of we'll deliver this, and then because the roadmap is more hands-on and back and forth in decision-making processes, this is more the partial deliverable of the work that has been done thus far.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll go ahead to Melinda Salazar from Think Peace first.
Hi, everyone. I have been here the whole time. It's what it's like to not be seen. It's quite an experience. Welcome, everyone. We are honored and thrilled to be here. Think Peace Learning and Support Hub, sharing with the Iowa City Truth and Reconciliation Commission our presentation on trauma-informed truth-telling and witnessing protocol. I am Melinda Salazar with the Truth Telling Project, and I introduce to you Leo Hilton from Think Peace, who'll be running tech tonight, as well as contributing as a restorative and transitional justice practitioners. But before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge yet another painfully tragic and senseless school shooting in your great state of Iowa. Our hearts break for you all, and for all of us in this nation. So if we could just take a moment of silence to center ourselves as we acknowledge the lives lost and those injured at Perry High School. Thank you for that. In keeping with our practice of welcoming our ancestors into this racial justice work, I would like to acknowledge my Colombian mother tonight, who transitioned on this sacred day 2 decades ago and who descends from Spanish and Muisca Chiccha people, the first indigenous community to be decimated by conquistadors, and who are reclaiming their language and identity. Because of our hybrid arrangement on Zoom and in person, I'd like to invite you to turn to the person sitting next to you, to name out loud, or to put in the chat or write on a piece of paper an ancestor you would like to acknowledge tonight.
Grandmother passed.
You ought to have in front of you the document we created. And I want to underscore here that these slides cover the high points in the protocol and do not include some of the very important substance that the commissioners would greatly benefit from reading in the printed document. We have made available to you a copy of these slides electronically, in which we have hyperlinked to it. And could you all let me know, are you seeing, do you have the document in front of you?
Yep.
Okay, cool, thanks. All right. Going on, let's see. Okay, going on to the next slide. We've included here a table of contents just to give you an idea of how robust this document is. As you can see, we've included background and history of giving testimony and bearing witness as a way to acknowledge this Truth and Reconciliation Commission. You are all standing on strong foundation. The lineage is long and the history of testimony is powerful in practice and in study. We invite you as commissioners to hold and to stand in this power. So as to overview, these are the three areas that we're going to touch on tonight. The basic trauma basics and trauma-informed truth-telling, what to expect in preparing truth tellers, conducting testimony, preparing witnesses, and what do we mean by post-truth-telling processes. Next slide, thank you. Think Peace presented to you a few months back about the basics and science of trauma from a neurological and physiological perspective. We encourage commissioners to be aware the Truth-Telling Project can directly or indirectly trigger memory held in the body that may be known or suppressed in truth tellers, witnesses, commissioners, and the public. We note that to the brain, it doesn't matter if a threat is real or perceived. The body keeps score of experiences and traumas we may have willed in our minds and hearts into no longer seeing. So we intentionally look for the impacts, as you can see here, felt and held in the body that we've included. I want to emphasize again here that we're highlighting the key points in giving testimony and witnessing truth-telling, and encourage you all to take a deep dive into our document, particularly around this aspect of trauma. Think Peace and the Truth-Telling Project apply a race lens to our truth-telling work, which is why I borrowed the term trauma-informed from healthcare practitioners and clinicians to acknowledge how members of the African American and Indigenous communities develop adaptive behaviors as a consequence of multi-generational oppression resulting from centuries of chattel slavery, forced removal from ancestral lands, immigration, colonization, and other manifestations of pervasive systemic racism. We call upon the amazing work of our colleagues, Dr. Joy DeGruy, and what she coined post-traumatic slave syndrome, Dr. Resmaa Menakem's notion of somatic abolitionism as a way to heal the body from the virus of white supremacy, and psychoanalysts Nichols and Connolly's idea of transforming ghosts from our slavery past into ancestors that can unsilence and heal all of us from past historic harms. We did not go into tremendous detail in our trauma presentation. That would be more like a trauma 2 workshop. And for the purpose of concision in our document, we've included only Dr. Joy DeGrew's work in the current version of this document. But certainly, if the commission would like an expanded version, we would be honored to expand this section for greater depth and comprehensiveness. The next few slides will include clips from truth-telling hearings. This is the heart of the work that we do. Let's put a pin in this and be sure to come back to the idea of a method for the creation of a notion and process of consent. That is how we ask for permission to record and to indicate the future use of testimony. Our document does go into greater detail about the preliminary steps commissioners can take to find and prepare truth tellers for giving testimony. And here are a few highlights from that process. The pre-meeting preparation with truth tellers to check in with them as to their comfort level. Being sure that in the preparation stage, we address trauma and the need for preparation protection against re-traumatization. Meeting with truth tellers in advance to hear what they will say. And most importantly, building a relationship, getting to know the truth tellers beyond their testimony. They're more than their harms, they're more than their hurts. We're human beings, and building a relationship with truth tellers is very important. And of course, taking special care for youth, young adult truth tellers through community support and an aftercare plan. We're going to show you now testimony from Mike Brown Sr. about the murder of his son, 18-year-old Mike Brown Jr. on the streets of Ferguson on August 9th, 2014. This year will mark a 10-year anniversary. It's hard to believe that this milestone event is coming up. His story definitely speaks for itself, but I want to bring your attention to the 2 additional people besides him and the witnesses in the audience that you'll view in the testimony. You'll see a support person standing next to Mr. Brown. Truth tellers may want to identify for themselves someone with whom they feel safe and who holds space while they speak. You'll also notice that there's a truth teller hearing facilitators. Commissioners do not have to serve as facilitators. It's entirely possible that a commission member might feel unable to engage with truth tellers and witnesses with the level of care and support called for in this document. This can be due to personal reasons around the place of emotion in this work, or for reasons related to perhaps his, her, or their pain and trauma. In either case, commissioners may identify a member of the community to serve as facilitator. So we'll now play about 5 minutes of Mike Brown Sr.'s testimony. As Leo brings up this testimony, I encourage commissioners to note the website hyperlinked to this picture. It's from the Truth Telling Project's It's Time to Listen website, an online educators resource we created that holds as sacred the original truth-telling tellers, where each testimony is accompanied by a discussion and an activity guide that could be used in living room conversations, could be used in the classroom. So we have spent time analyzing, as you may do, the testimonies themselves for the themes that the truth tellers address.
Michael Brown Sr., St. Louis, Missouri.
Okay. Brother Michael, tell us your story of what you and your family have experienced in police brutality and police violence.
Well, the story is growing up myself, I had to deal with those issues, you know. It's sad when you have to tell your son or your loved one how they have to interact with police officers. You know, just to warn them to obey, but I wouldn't say obey, just to follow directions. I had a lot of interactions, but my son had more, you know, because of his size, his weight, you know, from behind, he looks like a grown man. He had a lot of issues with them, you know, talking to him and he not knowing what to do and knowing procedure of, if you come in contact with a police officer, don't forget, son, make sure you call me or your mother. When you at an age of Mike was always tall. Always had some weight on him. So just coming up and being a big guy.
Leo, if we're having some technical issues, maybe we want to move on.
It's just when we were speaking. But yeah, police is a lot of so the fight is the fight. However they want to call it.
Leo, we seem to be having some tech. Oh, good. There you go. All right.
Sorry about that. I am back.
Okay. Let's just queue up back to the slides and skip this part of the video. Awesome. Thank you, Leo. So those from the community who want to come forth to witness truth-telling also require preparation. Commissioners will want to acknowledge the physiological and psychological impacts that can emerge, as well as prompting witnesses as to the art and active listening, which we include in our document. You'll find these slides and the relevant material in your document under What's the Role of the Truth of a Witness on page 10 and 11 to 12. During the testimony, there are important protocols to follow. And you will have these slides, and in case we are having that technical issue here, you'll be able to look at those testimonies yourself. Again, there's a more comprehensive and nuanced list in the main document, where we want to thank each of the truth tellers for choosing to show up and to sharing their testimony, asking if there's anything more that they would like to share, providing gentle invitation for them to share their experience, and then of course inviting and honoring the presence of a support person. As commissioners, whether we are acting as facilitators or organizers, engaging with curiosity, asking follow-up questions like, can you clarify, say more about, and allowing spaces of silence for the truth teller to breathe, emote, however they need to. As you saw in the video, or you did not see, the support person intervening in any way with Mike Brown Sr. And always being gentle and patient in speech, compassionate in responses offered. And next slide. During the testimony, there are, okay, let me go on to the next one. Following up with both truth tellers and witnesses is a responsibility of commissioners. Members of the community may be raw, perhaps triggered and re-triggered, which means they're experiencing trauma. And we want to ensure that you are sensitive to the experiences and contribute to their individual and collective healing. We're not suggesting that any post-truth-telling process is a Band-Aid. The aim of a truth-telling commission, Truth and Reconciliation Commission, is to contribute to systemic change, the root cause of these concerns in the first place. We suggest that follow-up be immediate as well as over time. So as you review these slides, you'll be able to click on each picture to access the reference video segment. And you'll also find brief notes beneath each slide to help guide what you listened for, as each one has been carefully selected to provide you with various perspectives and experiences from national and international truth-telling initiatives. At this time, let's pause and invite any questions for myself or for Leo. Thank you for your time. And I am unable to see anybody in the audience at this time, so I would invite Chair Dillard to call on anybody with questions.
I'll defer to Vice Chair Merritt.
Anybody have any questions? No, we're good, so we can keep going.
How are y'all doing? Maybe we just take a moment. Let's cue up Leo's face so we can all see the other person behind the screen. And for those of you who have not met Leo Hilton on the Truth Telling Project team, Leo, a few words you'd like to say on the spot?
Well, sure. Never probably put on the spot. So I am Leo Hilton. I have been working with Think Peace for the past 2 years, supporting their transitional justice education initiatives. I've been invited back due to my expertise in restorative justice and restorative practices, as well as transitional justice. And so I'm very much here to support how I can. I do plan on reaching out individually to commissioners to really hear from you, so that I'm not just another talking head coming in, claimed expert to tell you what you need to do, but to really hear from you and support you and be responsive to you in how we do this work. So what you may not know is that I'm also currently incarcerated. I am 15 and a half years into a 50-year sentence, serving in Maine State Prison. I have caused serious harm in this world, and I am committed. It happened young, and so I have many years to work to repair harm in as many places and ways as I possibly can. And so that is interpersonal, communal, and here structural, which is it is both exciting and obligatory for who I am and how I am in the world. And so I come to this feeling the connection between us that existed before I joined this team or before this commission was formed, and that will exist afterwards. So while I may be here as a contractor, I'm very much here as a human being, and honor that in who this team is and who this commission is and who the community members are, who really need this space of healing and support and structural transformation in ways where we can collectively transition from this place of intergenerational trauma into one where it is just a little bit more healed. And so thank you. Just shooting from the hip and saying hi. I'm here to help and to serve how I can.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Leo. And to close, we want to acknowledge and respect the successes and challenges that you all as TRC commissioners have experienced throughout this process. And as we've noted in our agreements, or maybe it was in training when we were all together, we operate at the speed of trust. This is not easy work. You've all been through years of joys, tests, and difficulties to get to where you are now. We want you to know that we see you, we believe in you, we support you, and we hold you up as stewards of peace building and as models for other communities seeking truth, healing, and repair for systemic racial justice. It's pretty amazing what you all been through and what you continue to show up for. So please do not hesitate to reach out to any one of us at any time if you have questions, comments that come to you after we close today. And as you see in the document, our emails are on in the closing slide. So I want to thank you all for your time. And pass it back on to you.
Thank you, Melinda.
Welcome.
Vice Chair, is it okay to continue?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I'm here to discuss the Phase 2 roadmap. I appreciate Truth Telling Project's think piece rather's presentation on the elements of that aspect of the map, and I'm meant to kind of cover the map in total. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen as well, but what's on my screen should be a part of the materials that were handed to you, so I will refer to this. Pardon me? What's
Yours
that?
are easily readable.
Easier to read. Got it. Got it. Yeah, so I'll keep this shared on screen for everyone's edification. And will do my best to avoid any kind of straight read of this, but I think it's important to do my best to give you a sense for how everything knits together. I really want to acknowledge that a lot of the work that went into this was done by people other than me, especially Laurel Cohen, in terms of putting pen to paper, but also each member of the facilitation team contributing their own parts. To orient you to what you're seeing, you'll notice that there is some color coding. The orange refers to tasks that would be undertaken by the TRC, by the commissioners themselves. The green refers to Native partners and healing partners. The blue, the lighter blue here, kind of the royal blue, is for fact-finding for Kearns and West. And then the purple refers to Think Peace and Truth-Telling. You'll also notice at the bottom of the screen a couple of different tabs on the spreadsheet. It may not be obvious on the printout, but we'll talk a little bit later about this notion of pace or timing or cadence associated with culminating events towards the middle or end of March. The basic difference between culminating cascade and cascade spread is the idea of how much to concentrate culminating events day after day versus having either a day or two of break in between or even a week in between those events. So that's in essence what the distinction is between those three modalities. And then obviously this is oriented as a sort of a calendar with goals and then what is meant to be completed by whom there in the third column where it says completed outputs. Any questions before I keep going?
I think we're good so far.
So we're here, of course, on row 5, the first week of the year, and of course, Happy New Year to everybody. We're presenting the roadmap, and you've just heard the pieces of Think Pieces truth-telling event presentation there. Our goal tonight is both, of course, to get your feedback on this roadmap, but also to make sure, or to check, I should say, to see whether the notion of these March culminating events would satisfy your original request for some pilot programs during phase 2. And if so, get some commitment on specific dates so as to allow us maximum amount of time to do some planning. We also have indicated that the TRC in this initial part of the year would be working on some listening post planning for a focus topic for those March events. And just to refresh everybody's memory, when we talked about listening post before, we're talking about an event for a subset of the commissioners who arrive at a community event, an existing community event, make themselves available to the public. The mayor, we understand, has also done this as a listening bus tour. There's a variety of different ways to do this. It certainly is up to you all to decide the exact format, the exact configuration. But the notion here is that these listening posts can serve as kind of mini opportunities for the public to be exposed now to opportunities for testimony, opportunities for truth-telling, opportunities for fact-finding, and ultimately for reconciliation. Next week, we would be undertaking a list of target community organizations for the listening post outreach, and we would do this on the basis of the focus topics that we reviewed with you all a meeting or so ago, including topics related to public safety and law enforcement, economic development, and education. As you can see, we've indicated that the TRC itself would be undertaking the planning for an event on MLK Day, and we know that's a separate agenda item here. The following week, of course, would be MLK Day itself, and a listening post potentially would occur at that event that has been publicized. We would also be endeavoring to schedule the dates for the culminating events in March by this point. So as you can see, trying to give ourselves a minimum of 2 months lead time, if at all possible, to commence with all of the planning that we think is important to do for these events to be meaningful. To identify both the dates, the times, how long the events would go, and their objectives, to do that in the middle of January. To then the following week, book a venue for those events and create a calendar for promoting them. It's really important not just to, kind of put an event together and have a flyer and hope people see that flyer, but really have an eye towards multiple ways and multiple opportunities for people to know about these events and make plans to attend. They are historic events, in my opinion, for Iowa City, and we want folks to get ample notice and hear about it from a lot of different sources. You'll see here for the first time the light green, and what we have on this roadmap is one of 2 possible optional timeframes for what we're calling experiential community healing circles, and the notion of a training for the commissioners in conducting healing circles. Manape and Danielle are here, and I don't want to speak for them. They'll share more about that at their agenda item, but the idea is that we want the community to experience what a healing circle can be. We want commissioners to receive the tools and skills and the practice to be able to conduct these after our work on your behalf is complete. And then, of course, once the listening post event happens on MLK Day, the idea would be that you all would debrief it either at your next meeting on the 18th or perhaps that week of the 22nd of January. Moving to the beginning of February, you'll see that the idea or the goal is for us, Kearns and West, as your fact-finding liaisons, to present findings associated with public safety, criminal justice, and law enforcement. And the idea is that could end up being a focal point of a truth-telling event happening later on. The Think Piece team is also going to be I assume, expanding on what they've presented tonight in the way of a document on witnessing and a way for you all to prepare for a culminating truth-telling event. And then we would be working on what's known as a concept note, or basically a plan, a memo that outlines what we think would be a way to approach the culminating events in March. I keep using this phrase, culminating events. What I mean to say there is our work on your behalf is meant to wrap up by the end of March with some presentations to council in April. And so what we're trying to do is drive towards some signature events, some big public events at the end of our time with you all, so that then the TRC would be in a position to use those as templates to continue the work into the remainder of your time of service. Moving on, we have another opportunity for a community healing circle in the second week of February, and a document from the Think Peace team on public hearings. The following week, we would share a draft run of show for the culminating events during your meeting, as well as present findings on fact-finding associated with economic development. So we're doing each of the 3 topics of fact-finding spaced out over the next month and a half or so. We'll also want to check in with the TRC relative to any additional listening posts that have occurred, any progress that's been made, and make sure we have a focus topic for the March events. We like to prepare what we call facilitation guides for our events, where it's very clear in great detail who is responsible for what part of the meeting and who's helping with technology and who's helping with other logistics. And so by the later part of February, very early March, we want to have created that facilitation guide for your culminating events and review it with you at your first meeting in March, as well as present the findings from fact-finding on our third topic, that of education. We would also be working as we get ready for the culminating events to ensure that we can be ready for a council report and presentation after the end of March and early April. But the focus, of course, would be preparing for and holding and helping facilitate your culminating events towards the latter part of March. So this, of the 3 tabs, of the 3 scenarios, represents the compressed schedule. And I'm sure that my colleagues could share with you their own take on pros and cons of each of the scenarios here. Obviously, we are very well aware of how your all volunteer service to this commission is taxing on your work and on your personal life. And so it may be that that it is best to do these events spaced out, but it also may be helpful to allow for the community to provide their testimony as soon after the receipt of facts, fact-finding as possible, and for there to be healing opportunities following shortly thereafter. That's a choice for the TRC to make. We're just giving you a couple of flows of calendar depending on how you want to proceed. But in general, the last 2 weeks of March would be given over to culminating events, both fact-finding, truth-telling, and reconciliation, to be followed by a presentation to the City Council in the early part of April. I did go very fast, but I wanted to be efficient and focus on any questions that you all have or any concerns that you want to raise about this roadmap, about the culminating events, and about this in general. So I'll pause there. Vice Chair.
Thank you. I think this roadmap is, I like it. Anybody have any thoughts?
So I'll say that I like it too, but I'll also say that I'd be less than honest if I didn't say I'm concerned about how much is happening in this short amount of time. So I'm wondering, are there any other alternative paths that you've thought about or considered if we had to streamline? Like if we get to 2 or 3 weeks in and all of a sudden we realize this just isn't going to happen. So what are the What are the ways that we still can succeed by April, even if we can't accomplish everything?
Well, Commissioner Tassinari, let me speak for myself or for Kearns and West fact finding, and then I certainly would welcome Think Peace or Healing Partners, Native Partners to share. I think one potential way to streamline this or to manage it in terms of its scope would be to endeavor to take even just one single topic and follow this thread through. So as you noted, or as you would note, I mentioned treatment of public safety, treatment of education, and treatment of economic development over this period of time. I think it would be certainly meaningful to have one of those topics be treated in depth with fact-finding, as well as truth-telling, as well as experiential healing circles. It may be a modest achievement to have that be the crux or the bulk of what you achieve by quarter's end. But from my perspective, that would certainly allow for a depth of understanding of that topic that would be harder to come by if you were attempting to tackle, multiple topics in that same quarter. The tricky thing, of course, is we obviously have a time frame we have to abide by contractually, and so we're trying to make sure that we equip you all with the very best in tools and in templates so that you can carry on once our work with you is complete. But then separately, there's just the notion of your overall timeline and the number of topics you all want to tackle and the extent of the mandate you have to address issues related to racial discrimination, systemic racism. So on the one hand, I would say that it might make sense to to reduce the scope of the first quarter to be just on one topic. On the other hand, that could leave you that much more work to do in quarters 2, 3, and 4 to make sure that you sufficiently address the other topics that were of interest to you all. So I hope that answers your question to some degree. I do see my colleague, Laurel Cohen's hand raised. I don't know if she wanted to get in there, but Commissioner, can I help at all anymore?
Well, that's great. And I appreciate that. I'm just thinking, I wanted to get a little bit more of your expertise and your experience with respect to these kinds of issues, to give us all a sort of reality check. So we can all choose to do lots of things, right?
Right.
But if you've seen other examples where things have gone really well and things have gone terrible, not so well, not terrible, not so well.
Right.
That's what I'm looking for, is just something like that.
Well, when you're a facilitator in settings like this, one of the things that can prove to be most challenging, in my estimation, is straddling a line between wanting people to speak from the heart as to whatever it is that they want the TRC to know, and keeping the focus on a particular topic. And, when I think of the Greensboro example, which was the most noteworthy and first TRC in the United States and I think in North America, I feel that one of the things they did well was that each of the public hearings really had a pretty singular focus. Now, you could argue that each of those hearings, one talking about the before of the events, one talking about the events, and one talking about the aftermath, was still very expansive. And to be sure, these were, multiple hour, multiple day events. But I just felt that they packed a significant punch by having people be able to kind of wrap their arms around what was going to be discussed in a more concise way than necessarily having the floor be completely open to any of the topics at hand. So I think you can accomplish a version of both by ensuring that people have ways to bring forward their truth and their testimony on any topic asynchronously, meaning at any time, whether it's with staff, with commissioners, with maybe members of our team, to provide that testimony privately on whatever topic at whatever time is convenient for everyone. But then separately from that, have your hearings be very tailored to a single topic, a topic that could be explored in depth through the fact-finding process, through archival research and data-driven research, and through extensive testimony, and through reconciliation with particular parties that really should be a part of that process. So, again, I really want to stress that this is, not for me to, direct you all, or even to I'm reluctant even to give a recommendation, but Commissioner, to your question directly, I think if you have the ability to spend more time on a particular topic and deepen your engagement with that topic, both from fact-finding, truth-telling, and reconciliation, I think the fruits of that labor will be pretty significant.
I wanted to bring up, this is Vice Chair Merritt, because I think at a previous meeting, we kind of talked about maybe targeting one concept going through from beginning to end, knowing that I would say the other ones are going to be coming up, and I wanted to think of, like, we're going to keep a list of those. Those are ones that we're going to probably have to do some future fact finding, because as we talked about, when things trigger, different things are going to come up. People are going to come up with different things they want to talk about. But to keep us, because we are under, a tight schedule, and to keep us from not spreading ourselves too thin, trying to touch all these bases, because we know there's plenty of information out there for us to be touching base with the community and getting involved with, but trying to stay focused with one, so that we are thorough, going through all the steps from, like I said, beginning to end, to set up that template for the other concepts that, we're talking about, that we can jump into future things. But and I don't know, this maybe if we focus on one, but still have the others kind of that you talked about here in check, kind of making note as we go forward, but still trying to target more of one of them, as opposed to, because these are big ones for us to be dealing with this sort of time period. So I like the idea of maybe trying to decide on one of them that we all think would be a good one to work with and go forward. I'm not sure what point we can make that decision, but I would like to go maybe with the other commissioners, see what they think about.
Sure.
Like that too.
One other thing that I would say, Vice Chair, from a process perspective, is that my observations of you all, as we've gone through this process together, are that it's important to give you all the space to really sit with information that's given to you before then immediately asking you to react to it and act upon it. And I think, as it relates to the topics that we've laid out here, the hope is that fact-finding around these topics won't just be a regurgitation of things that many of you already know or suspected, but reveal information that you didn't know. And speaking for myself, if I am given information that's new to me, it's very difficult for me in the span of that same meeting to then say, well, here's what I think we should do about it. I want to sit with it, whether it's for a night or, more time. And so if we were to shift the focus to one and not three of these topics over the quarter, then I think some of that space might exist. In other words, where we were going to start on a second topic, we could potentially go deeper on that first topic and really allow for more information to be shared, more time to be spent reflecting on it and deliberating on how to act upon it, if that makes sense.
It does.
I also had one more follow-up. I was just thinking while you were talking that, and again, I just want just your general experience or anybody else on your team. Are these kinds of commissions or these kinds of events associated with commissions, do you believe more successful if they are organized around a topic like public safety, or they're organized around a particular event? Because it seems to me in some of the examples, the ones that are really successful seem more event-based to me, but I don't know if that's true or not. I don't throw that out.
Yeah, I think, Commissioner, not to sound like I'm ducking the question or being political, but you are using terms in your question that, of course, require interpretation, meaning what is success associated with this endeavor, and I just couldn't pretend to know exactly what that might be. I think certainly when you contrast Greensboro, Maine, and Canada, for example, Greensboro was very much about a single event, whereas Maine and Canada were less so. Maine and Canada were very much about eras of time, significant epochs of time. I see Eduardo and Melinda, so I'll be brief. But I think that the mandate of this commission, to me, doesn't seem to be event-driven. And so I would be reluctant to lead you all down that path in the absence of council direction for this to be event-driven as opposed to topically driven. But I'll yield to Eduardo and Melinda.
Thank you, Larry. So I think that we need to take very practical decisions and be in general very practical about what we want to do in the work of the Commission in this year. The Commission has the mandate to work over 2024, and you have our support until the end of March, which is why our roadmap is pretty detailed regarding this first quarter. It is detailed because of our work for you. So don't be anxious about the roadmap looking extremely detailed or extremely charged. That is basically for our own guidance so that we can divide the work among ourselves and support you. But to look at the roadmap with the perspective of the year, what we wanted to propose, and this is in a narrative text, what we wanted to propose is that we focus the first quarter in learning how to do the public events. That is why we're focusing on the support to statement givers that we're calling truth tellers, and how those events link up with the actual research, the actual fact finding. And so if we dedicate the first quarter to set up one particular event, then you are going to be prepared during the second and third quarters to continue doing those events. We think that it would be better and most practical to do this first event about one particular topic, a topic that you choose as the one that would be more important, and our colleagues in Kearns and West are already doing some fact-finding. So if we say invite in March people to talk about one particular issue, for example, education, then we can find a few testimonies about the issue of education. We can organize a dialogue and a discussion about education and race, etc. And then you can decide on using that model, that template, for events in the second quarter and in the third quarter. Why am I not saying to the fourth quarter? Well, because you also have the obligation to present a report to council about your activities. So what we are thinking is that you dedicate the last part of the year, third and fourth quarter, to prepare that report, specifying the findings that you made during your fact-finding, listening to people who came to you to give testimony, and organize and compile that information in the form of a report with findings and with recommendations. So that is how we look at it. But the first quarter is specifically to learn together how to carry out these events. What you told us in previous meetings is that you wanted to do a number of informal small meetings called listening posts. And those are a good learning opportunity on the one side, and on the other, they are very simple to do because it's basically having a number of commissioners that do not constitute quorum. So it is an informal conversation to listen to people, to exchange some information, and for you to get a feel of the situation in the city and in the ground. And it is that information that you get to receive in those listening posts that is going to probably inform the so-called culminating event that you want to have. That is the general logic.
Okay, thanks. I mean, I really, the question, maybe I shouldn't be thinking out loud, but the, the question was really more about thinking down the road about how it's just, it seems harder for this event to come together when it's topic-based because there's so many unknowns. And when it's an event-based, it becomes a little bit easier in lots of ways. But I just wanted to air that a little bit. But I understand completely what you're saying. And I agree with you completely that this first phase, we should, it's all about training ourselves to be able to then replicate it to finish the process.
Well, this actually is a discussion you should have among the commissioners because it's basically a tactical decision, meaning one option, we are having our colleagues in Crimson West investigating one particular topic, which I understand is education, right? So that means that there are going to be documents, there is going to be information about that particular topic. And so an event based on that topic can result in you inviting professors, teachers, students, etc., to have a dialogue and a conversation on that topic, education and race. So it is feasible. Now, you can also say, look, perhaps for this initial event, we are not going to have all the information we want, or we don't feel that we are going to feel comfortable with all that. So let's have a more generic meeting, right? And then we invite people to talk about different issues. One can be education, the other can be security, the other can be economic empowerment, and so on. The only difficulty with that is that if you feel unsure about an event about one topic, you may feel more unsure if the event comes with a number of different topics that may, come out of left field. So that is why we were thinking perhaps the simpler way to do it is to focus on one particular topic for the event.
Understood. Thanks.
I would like to say something if that's okay. This is Sakawis. Yeah, I don't feel like we need to necessarily have topics. Like, I think we should just go into our communities and have a listening session and see what they have to say. From that, we will figure out what the topics are. This makes more sense to me than this top-down approach that's been, I guess, pushed from the beginning, having leaders come together and decide what should be talked about. I think that a few other commissioners would agree with me that it's just, as a grassroots organizer, I know that it's just best just to have a meeting and see what people have to say. So I'm guessing we can have meetings like that as well.
Without question, Commissioner, I think that's true. Eduardo, I also just want to honor Melinda had a hand from a while ago.
Sorry.
Just to clarify, or to add to this conversation, the commission that happened in Greensboro came together to seek truth about a particular event that happened in the past. Ferguson truth telling was the event was the murder of Mike Brown and the subsequent violence that took place on the streets during the protests in the months following. So those were different kinds of, they were events, but they were different kinds of truth-seeking events than the topical events that you have been thinking about. I just wanted to be sure that distinction was made. So there was a crisis in the community, and the community responded to that crisis by holding truth-seeking and truth-telling. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, this definitely makes our work harder because I've been privy to the truth and reconciliation process in Canada, as my family is a part of that. And it's definitely different. But I mean, like, I hope that we still consider our charge to be racism. And that, we just keep all the topics related to that. And then I wanted to say one more thing. I guess I'm feeling kind of overwhelmed at like this idea that somehow we're going to take this work on. I feel like we paid a lot of money to like get this work carried out like on our behalf as commissioners. And like I can't imagine like having to carry out like all of this work like for free. And like like I mean like we're basically gonna take on like what, a job for the city? I mean, like, I'd love to hear what other commissioners have to say about this because I'm just like kind of like I'm seriously like really shocked to think that we would have to do all this for free.
This is the vice chair. First of all, I guess my also understanding that it wasn't so much that the facilitators were going to be like doing the work on behalf of TRC, but they were going to be educating and helping us with the training for us to set up the templates and then presenting to the city something that they could go forward and hopefully in the future basically commit some money to that. Yeah, and yes, it is a lot of work for the TRC. There's no doubt about that. But the facilitators would still be working with us as we're going through this, and I think this roadmap has helped out quite a bit in giving us an idea. But also, I wanted to touch base with something you said earlier about going to the communities and listening to what they had to say with like topics, whatever. And I think that with these listening posts events, it kind of does exactly that. If we set up there's a few of these listening posts out to the communities to get their input on whatever. And I think that, it is possible for us to still gear, a general topic and have the listening posts and have the community present to us specifics that we can move forward on. Because I still think that since we have a short amount of time, it would be very helpful to be a little bit more structured, with the community, but that's just my opinion on that. But
yeah, and I'm just going to say, I don't have capacity to do this. So, I mean, does anybody, like, I'd love to know what other TRC members think. Like, do you have capacity to do this?
This is Commissioner Wangui. I want to respond to you, Nobis, and I'm thinking when somebody applies for a job, there is usually a job description. And I don't know about the other commissioners, but when I applied to be a TRC commissioner, I was going off having served in the Human Rights Commission and the other commissions and boards in the city that meet 1 hour, 1 month, or in a month. So I think I'm agreeing with you, Commissioner Nobis, that we came in blind, and I think of a blind date. You don't know what you're going to find. And am I again feeling like Alice in Wonderland? And I keep going down. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's like never ending.
I didn't expect.
Yeah. It's like it never ends, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Kind of feels like my work I'm doing right now for our budget for our organization. Marie knows what I'm talking about. Anyways, so like
we came to learn that it's but probably this is me reacting to the roadmap that we were just given, and thank you very much, Dr. Skula, for presenting that. And I think you also mentioned that sometimes when you're presented with something, one needs a moment to kind of process. So I'm processing, although it had been the faces sort of an outline, but now the details. And I guess that's what they say, the devil is in the details. I'm right there. And I'm kind of relating to what you presented, Commissioner Nobis. I'm off the floor.
I mean,
Welcome to Faith.
yeah. So I'm of the same. So, I mean, yeah, like starting, coming onto the TRC, I had this understanding of what we're doing. I had this understanding that the facilitator, literally the word facilitation is in this, right? Like would be doing this work on our behalf. And then over time it's morphed into this. I mean, I'm not like, I've been following this change, right? Of an understanding of what the facilitators are doing. But like, I guess I'm just like at a point where I'm like, wow, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And like, I run a nonprofit and work, probably 50 hours a week, and I'm a single mom. So like, I'm just starting to feel like this is not okay. And also I'm really tired of people saying that like this kind of work, like, should be done by volunteers and that it should be done if you have passion for it. It's not that I don't have the passion for it. I mean, that's obviously why I've been on this commission for almost 3 years. It's like, it feels like this is not what the TRC is meant to be. It shouldn't be taking the free labor from BIPOC folks. Well, I guess mostly BIPOC. Now we have a white person on the, commission to do this work. And honestly, maybe it should just be white folks at this point that do it for free. I mean, like, that's kind of how I feel. Like reparations, I mean, that's why we're here, right? That's why we're trying to like get to some truth and reconciliation and reparations. So like, maybe it's time for white folks to stand up and do this work instead of us.
Vice Chair, Chair Dillard has had her hand up for a while.
I was like, Chastity and then Manape, please.
Actually want to say, Commissioner Nobis, thanks for bringing that up, because from my perspective, I believe that there has been a misconception that the facilitators were coming in to come do the work for us. From the beginning, especially in July, when we all discussed this, it was under my understanding that they were coming to show us education, teach us how to do this, and work with us to complete this. But it was always going to be the commission leading the work. Now, I wanted them to share this roadmap because it is a lot. I agree with you. It is overwhelming work, and it's going to take a lot to get it done. And unfortunately, we're on this impossible time crunch that was put on us, I'm going to say, because of all the different things that have happened in the last 3 years. And we need to figure out how we can get something done. But as far as capacity, I think we're all burnt out. But we all did decide to be on this commission so we can try to get the work done. And I don't know. That's just what I'm trying to say, that we're here to do the work, and this is the work that's being presented. It sucks that it's us that has to do it, but it needs to be done.
And I mean, I don't know if that's like the answer that I want to, like, I mean, I'm tired of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is why we pay like our staff at our organization a living wage, because people get burnt out. People commit suicide from being burnt out and overworked. I mean, like, especially in BIPOC communities. I mean, like, I'm taking this very seriously. Like, I don't think that like this amount of work should be tasked upon us, because it's just, it keeps changing, it morphs, it gets bigger, 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 bigger. Like, it honestly feels like an upside down pyramid at this point. It's just another like form of capitalism. We're just being exploited again. And I'm not for that anymore. So like, I would like to quit, but like, I know that my voice on this commission is important, because like before Marie, I was the only Indigenous voice on here, and, got these Indigenous folks on board to do the work, like Manape and Danielle and T, which otherwise they would have been exploited too, getting paid $50 an hour, while these facilitators are getting paid between $150 and $200 an hour. So like, I don't want to quit, but I'm not going to do the work. Like, so we got to find a way to get this work done and not have like us like carry out this like this mountain of work. Manape?
Pepe, did you have?
Oh, I just wanted to, I just wanted to kind of offer a little bit of, maybe it's reassurance a bit, but the piece that the Native partners are offering in these healing circles, the intention is to offer this to the community. Maybe the commission might, I don't expect the commission to do the healing circles unless they want to, but the intention was for this to be offered to Iowa City, for Iowa City to have a method of grounding, a safe space to discuss hard dynamics, and to have people get up and tell their story, a place where they can come and decompress from things. There's it's healing circle for a reason, but I just want to offer that the piece that we're offering isn't necessarily for the commission to do. So I feel like that could be kind of swiped off the roadmap a little bit. I don't know if that offers any.
Actually, if you look in the thing, it says that you guys are going to be teaching us how to carry out the circles.
No, the intent, well, maybe that's maybe a little maybe a typo or something, but I think the intention is that the community, that's the first thing that we're going to do, is going to come and demonstrate how Natives do it. And then the second part is we offered time when we first constructed this. We offered time for the community to process this, and for maybe a bit of the work might be just for the commission to do a little call out in the community to see who might pick this up from the community. Not necessarily the commission to do it, but for people in the community to take charge. That way they're investing in this, and not just airing grievances, or they're actually participating in the healing as well as the truth telling, because all of this is preparation for reconciliation, which is a whole nother beast, so I just want to clarify that. Maybe we need to change the wording on that, but that we did want to offer a little bit of space in between our initial talking circles to allow the community some time to think about maybe that's a role that I want to do, and we would be offering lessons on how to facilitate those.
Just out of curiosity, were you planning on trying to find more Native partners here in Iowa City to offer the circles?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
So I would hope that these would stay with Native partners.
Yeah.
The healing circle facilitation.
I think that would be good, but at the same time, anybody that's wanting to step forward, we're willing to educate.
Okay, I'm gonna have to bring that up later then, because I don't want to keep us on a topic that's off agenda. But I'll talk to you about it later, Manape.
Yeah, no problem.
Awesome. Anyways, thank you. Sorry, I took us a bit off agenda here. I know we're trying to get through this, but I think this is just really important to talk about, as I'm just can't. Yeah, we'll have to maybe bring it up in the next agenda item or next meeting or something.
I have some input. So this is Marie. This is a tremendous amount of work, and we're all super busy already. So I'm feeling, your concerns. I have those concerns myself. So just a couple of things that popped into my head as I was sitting here is, adding the community piece. I think that's really awesome if we could find a way to add community involvement in this process, but also once we have the full training down, maybe we could even break into teams. So maybe some people are better with the healing circle portion. Maybe some people are better with the truth telling. Maybe some people have skills to, find information. So possibly we could even break it down so we're not all doing all of the things all of the time.
But I think that that's one of the things we talked about was that we're going to reach out to the community, see obviously we have plenty of resources for people here that can do these things.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting the training, the guidance of how to focus on the truth telling,
guiding the process.
Exactly.
Right.
And ultimately, this is not going to be just something that's operated by 9 people
Mm-hmm.
on a commission. This is something that we're actually going to be going out to the community, using our those resources to help us and help the community. It's not just us doing it for them. It's helping guide and bringing the community in and help everybody healing each other.
Mm-hmm.
But the facilitators in this, this whole process is setting the template and getting the, like I said, the training,
The
education,
foundation.
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, because even though we're seeing this roadmap, I mean, I visually can already see how it can be taken out and put into, different areas, different time, something that is done even after our commission, deadline is up. This helps right now with setting up that kind of guideline. At least, that's my visual, how I'm thinking about it. But yeah, it is a lot of work, but did we really think that this was going to be easy? Unfortunately not.
No, but I want to try to put a maybe it's the wrong way of thinking about it, but a fine point on what Sakawis has brought up. If in fact the workload of this commission is, like she says, to be like other commissions, so it meets once a month, we have a discussion, there's 2 or 3 staff people associated with the commission, and the staff people who are paid are the ones who do the work. Okay. If that's what the model is, we can't do this.
Well, I think also one of the recommendations, which I kind of knew was going to end up being in a recommendation in the end, is that, that the city would need to have a staff, either a person that's hired to help with doing facilitation kind of thing. But we're getting the information based to say, hey, this is so big that city, you need more. This is what we need, this information to help present to this proposal to the city. This is what we found. This is what, everything that's been discovered. You're going to need more. You're going to need whatever else.
Right. And but to me, that's 6 months from now, at the 7 months from now, 8 months from now. In this period of time right now, for 4 months or 3 months, if we're going to accomplish something that will serve as the basis for making further asks and making this more routine and everything, then it's going to require a significant amount of work in these 4 months.
Yep.
Well, we have to have buy-in from, it can't fall on one person. It can't fall on 2 people or 3 people. It's got to fall distributed. So either we have to be able to figure out a way to distribute it equitably to make it work, or we need to just be honest and say it's not, we can't follow the roadmap. I mean, I don't know how. So I don't know, Sakawis, what do you think?
I'll first of all jump in and respond to Commissioner. For us not to lose what Commissioner Nabis keeps on reminding us, that at the heart of what the TRC is doing, what has happened from the beginning of racial oppression, I'm thinking colonization and slavery, is taking of colored labor, people of color labor, and let's not lose that. As yes, I hear from you, Commissioner Liu, and I think Commissioner Dillard, that yes, the work is there and it needs to be done. And a lot of it between now and I think April 5. But then again, even if it's being divided equitably, you've used the word equitable. What does that even mean? Does that mean adding to the, because like when I said coming in, I was thinking 1 hour a month, like the other commissions and like the other boards in the city. We decided that there's a lot of work. So we were doing not even 2 hours, actually. It's 2 meetings in a month and they go on until when they end. I remember at one time coming out of here at 1 a.m. And now, like Commissioner Nobi said, we all know it still keeps on adding. Back to the word. Are we doing the very thing we are trying, which is part of TRC is still trying to heal, to move towards healing? Free labor from a group of people of color. So I want us not to lose that, even if we still want the work done. Are we going to take a pause as we get into phase 2 as commissioners and have a discussion on this? No, not that pause that has been happening. No, let me retract that. A discussion. I retract. I had that and I yield.
Thank you, Commissioner. Yeah, so that's basically what I would have just said right now. We are doing the same thing to ourselves that we are here to address in a way. And I'm tired of it. I thought I know the facilitators were, over time I've realized that they were here to teach us some stuff so that we could carry some stuff out. But we're paying a lot of money for this. So I kind of just thought that they would carry out the process for us and then write the report and we'd be done, give it to the city. And if we wanted to do long-term work, we'd hire somebody that would carry that stuff out. So that's how I feel about this.
And Commissioner Nobis, I also want to, I don't know whether to tell you sorry, because you said words that I'd said sometime earlier to somebody here when you said, I used your words that, okay, let's even actually have the whole commission consisting of white people. After all, in the justice system, if somebody does something wrong, because we are trying to move towards righting some wrongs, the committer of the wrongs rights those wrongs. But I'm sorry, Commissioner Nobis, I don't think we are yet there. Just to quote at the title of an African book, the beautiful ones are not yet born. So right now, the oppressor right now is not going to do that. Even whatever achievements that have been achieved in colonization and fighting off slavery, the oppressed people are the ones that have sweated, lost their lives, and to get the oppressor off their backs and off themselves. So I'm sorry, it's not yet time.
No, I agree. I definitely agree. I was being somewhat flippant, because yeah, my experience also tells me the same. White folks aren't ready for this. There's a lot of tokenism, romanticization, and just plain old racism that they don't even comprehend themselves yet. And that's why I want this group to be, made up of BIPOC folks doing that work. But I'm saying though, here we are, it's like we're taking on a part-time job right now and we're not getting any compensation for it. Or can we hire somebody to do the work for us? Since we hired these facilitators to do all this work to teach us how to do it, like, couldn't they just teach somebody to do that work for us? I don't know. We're a commission, right? Like, aren't we supposed to just like guide people and give our recommendations as leaders of our, communities?
Eduardo, did your hand up?
Yeah, thank you. So a couple of things. Because there are two things that Sikowi has raised that I think can be discussed in a practical way. One is a question of the structure of the Commission's work, and the other one is a question of the how to build the events of the Commission from below in a constructive, inductive way from the community, and not top down. So on the first one, yes, I think we have always said for a long time, I think, that one difficulty with the Commission is that it was designed in this way, meaning you guys are a board that meets only twice a month. Truth commissions normally are full-time organizations with commissioners that are compensated for their work and with staff, because you cannot expect to deal with the complexity of racial justice and genocide with 2 meetings a month. It's just not possible, obviously. And so that is why the difficulty has always been that the only way in which the resolution that creates the Commission addresses that is by saying the Commission is going to have a facilitator. In fact, the original plan was to have one person. And you will remember that there was an effort to hire a facilitator at the beginning, and then this person quit in less than a week. And so when these 4 organizations apply for the position of facilitator, it happened, you remember, time ago, this was presented over a year and a half ago, when it was supposed that the Commission had only 7 months to finish its work, which is why our contract is 7 months long. But what has happened after that is that the City Council extended the time of the Commission, right? So that means, in practical terms, that if what you are saying is we have a role as a board, and obviously we cannot be expected to have the role of a staff, then we can think of how to use the time of the facilitators. So far, they have done a lot of training for us, and they have shown us how this is done in many other places. Fine. But perhaps what we want them to do is to help us actually carry out the events, the activities, the research, etc. Well, if that is the case, what that would mean is mostly saying to the City Council, well, we need this to continue because the facilitator's contract is ending in March and the Commission is ending in December, right? So, and then you discuss how do you want to have that facilitators coming, participating, etc. That's one possibility, right? Because I do agree that that has always been the structural difficulty of how the Commission was established. Now, how to solve that, that is one avenue. The other possibility is also that you will remember that the resolution allocated money for the Truth Commission, so that the Truth Commission could, in principle, as Commissioner Novi said, hire persons. That is, if you are satisfied with the facilitators giving you a roadmap, then you will need staff to implement that roadmap. In which case, what the Commission could do is organize a budget and go to the city and to request that budget to be covered so that you have a small staff that can carry out these tasks, right? So that is one possibility, and I think it's a very practical issue. The second issue is also very practical. So it is the Commission that suggested to have actually informal conversations first, called listening posts. And those listening posts do not have a script, meaning that they are actually open for co-creation with the community. It is a community that is going to raise the topics. The only caveat that we have put is that sometimes when the topic is completely open, there are difficulties to start the conversation or to lead the conversation in the direction on the main topic, which is racial injustice. And if a meeting is completely spontaneous, then it's going to be very difficult to just locate the topics that come. But I completely agree, and I think everybody in the facilitators group agrees that having these small meetings that you have called listening posts, right, in previous meetings of the Commission, is going to help identify the pulse of the community. Now, for the event that we are proposing at the end of the quarter, and actually we're not proposing it, it was again the commission in a previous meeting that called it a culminating event. For this kind of event, what we understand is the logic, the vision of the commission is to effectively create a formal meeting, a formal activity in which the commission does outreach to the community and facilitates dialogues, right? So that is eminently doable, right? You already have this kind of these meetings now, and in every meeting there is a time for people coming and giving opinions, questions, raising issues, etc. It's just a matter of doing it in a more organized manner and in a more formalized manner so that it raises one particular issue, one particular topic. So I think it's more an issue of and rather than an issue of or, meaning there is going to be, in the form of listening posts, an opportunity for co-creation with the community and for having the everyday experiences reaching the commission, and at the same time, an event requested by the commission by which one particular topic is discussed in a more formal manner so that we can learn how to do that and how to replicate it later on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Was there any more discussion on this
I see
item?
Laura.
Oh, Laura, sorry. It wasn't up, but I looked up. Sorry, Laurel.
Hey, good evening. Thank you, Vice Chair, and good evening, everyone. I know this is going back a little bit, but I just wanted to say that if it would help in terms of representing the conversation that we've had visually so everyone can see it and see it clearly, we, the facilitators, can produce a version of the roadmap that is just one topic. So people can see how that would be spaced out and what would be expected in terms of workload. Responding to Commissioner Tassinari and Commissioner Novus's points that this is not only a lot, it's a heavy burden on the commissioners, but also that, what Dr. Schooler was saying, that it might allow us to get more in depth in a given topic. So I'm sorry that this is jumping around a bit in the topic, and please excuse my voice. I'm a little under the weather, but I just wanted to ask the commissioners if that would be helpful to see at this time, and we can produce that in the next week or so, or whether whether or not that's helpful.
Yes, I think that would be helpful.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay. If there isn't any more questions or discussions on this, is there another person?
I just wanted to thank you, Eduardo, for the suggestion on some of the things we could do moving forward to help with the overwhelmingness some of us are feeling.
What is what's the final outcome for this discussion?
Of the proposed roadmap was to basically give us an idea of apparently it was asked in the last meeting, which I was not present.
No, I'm sorry. I know that the decision, why it came up and why they put the roadmap together. I'm just asking, what is the conclusion? What are we doing now that we have seen the roadmap? Is it that the assumption is that our silence or our questions have said that we should move forward with the roadmap? Is it that we are not to move forward with the roadmap until once we see a roadmap that only focuses on a singular topic? What is ultimately the end result of, based on all of our discussions, of what the plan is related to the roadmap?
I can tell you my opinion, and then Chastity might have more thoughts on it, but I believe at the next meeting as a commission that we are going to discuss what is presented and have some guidance as to how we want to go forward. But that's my opinion. Chastity?
I was actually going to ask the same question that Commissioner Simmons brought up. What is our plan, our next steps? In an ideal world, we would have a plan, or at least an idea of where we would move today, since some of the things happen beginning as soon as the MLK event coming up. If not, we need to all go read and review and make a decision next meeting. That's fine too, on what we want to do for next steps. But definitely need to leave with an idea of what we're going to move forward on.
I would suggest that we at least do something for MLK Day. And besides that, like, it feels like I said a bunch of stuff and we said a bunch of stuff, but we're going to go ahead with whatever was said anyway. But we can always bring that up at the next meeting and maybe talk about hiring somebody or getting somebody from the city to help do this work. We can add that to the agenda at the next meeting. So I guess, yeah, I mean, that's my thought for now.
I also thought that it was going to be helpful to have the streamlined version of the current proposal in front of us to look at. But maybe that isn't true, but it seemed to me that would make it easier to make a decision one way or another.
Commissioner, can you clarify what you mean?
With going in depth with a single topic, the thing that
what Laurel proposed.
Laurel proposed. Okay.
So you're saying you'd like us to represent that in writing alongside what we've represented tonight? Is that what you're saying?
That's what I.
That's what we're responding back to Laurel, that we would appreciate seeing that if it's possible.
It's very possible.
So I just want to just from clarification. So are we saying that we're going to hold the process until once we take a look at that and then make a decision of whether we approve to move forward or not? Are we saying that we are going to move forward, we're just not sure how we're going to move forward? I still am lost with what we are saying as a commission as far as what our next steps are related
I mean,
to the time.
what would you like to see?
Well, in my opinion, there are still things on the agenda that I think we need to hear before we can make a decision about that. But like I said, but that's just me. Chastity, your thoughts?
I would agree with what you said, Lauren. There's some other things we need to talk about. I think if we want to explore all of those options, what it looks like to hire someone, what it looks like to get more help on all the things, and really just decide what we believe we can collectively do as a commission in the next 4 months, and then think about for the rest of the year. From on our own efforts, using our consultants and the community's efforts, just trying to figure out what is feasible on all sides would be best. And if that's something we can't agree on right now, then I guess we will have to defer to the next meeting, and have conversations with each other in between, is what I'm thinking.
Vice Chair, if my colleague Laurel Cohen could weigh in, that'd be helpful.
Laurel?
I can't tell if my hand is raised or not. I'm sorry, I'm struggling with Zoom this evening, but I was just wondering if it would be possible to plan on continuing the planned preparation for the MLK Day listening post from the TRC's perspective, and then from the facilitator's perspective, we can make sure we have that one topic roadmap prepared as soon as possible, well in advance of the next meeting, so that way everyone can get comfortable with it, and then by the next meeting we can talk about both the listening post and the one topic roadmap.
Yeah. So I think if we can table the 7A to the end of this meeting to hear some of the other agenda items, and then we'll come back and then potentially answer your question. Chad, that sounds good. How do others feel okay with that?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. We will go back then, and if we can go now back up to the number 5, the MLK Day. I'm not sure who was doing the presenting for that.
I was going to just update everyone based on our conversation from last meeting, if that's okay.
Sounds good.
Great. So in our last meeting, it was decided that we wanted to do an event on MLK Day. It was presented to us from Commissioner Simmons. So I went ahead and worked with the city, and we are a co-sponsor for the city's MLK Day event, which will be happening at Mercer Park from 9:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. We will have a table there where we can, meet everyone. We'll have swag, things that we can really interact with the community. We'll also have a space where we can do a presentation with our, in partnership with Kearns and West, just to talk more about the findings. I know that Larry and Laurel can talk more about exactly what they're thinking on that end. I discussed with my contact, Mallory at the city, that we would potentially do 1 to 3 different presentations, because if you haven't been to this event, people kind of come in and go as they want. So I was thinking a 10 a.m., 11:30 a.m. and then there's going to be another presentation, an MLK Day event presentation by a different group of people from 12:30 that will include food. And then to catch that group after they're done, I was thinking a 2 o'clock. In my experience, in my own work, maybe a 30-minute presentation or, just gathering to discuss and talk with people, guided with our facilitators with how they think we should best approach this. So that's what I have. We did also give $500 to the towards this so that we could be a co-host and sponsor of this event. So.
Chair and Vice Chair, this is Larry Schooler. Could I ask a question?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm sorry, but I want to make sure I heard correctly, or maybe I misheard. Is there an expectation that Kearns and West, or that we as a team be present at an MLK Day event and or be making a presentation around it?
No.
Okay.
I'm sorry if I misspoke. What I was referring to is whatever findings that you all would give to us to present, or we still need to talk through the details of what we wanted to share with the public. I know we're talking about you being there. But that's
I panicked only because we had originally planned to be, then we were, told not to be, and so it'd be difficult for us to arrange to be there. But thank you for that clarification. Forgive me.
I'm not sure if Think Peace or even Kearns and West, or if anyone else had anything to add on their end. I did hear mention from maybe Laurel about a listening post on that day. Eduardo?
Yes, exactly. Our understanding from your previous meetings was that this is going to be mostly a conversation with the community, but it is possible also that some people in the community may want to share experiences, and therefore the event, the conversation informally turns out into some sort of a hearing, into some sort of a truth-telling situation, which is why we wanted to have for you this document about support for testimony before MLK Day. And that is why Leo and Melinda presented it. So yes, that document is there, and we are at your disposal to go over it with more detail, etc. The other thing is, I think, the time from here to the MLK event can be useful for discussing outreach and for discussing how to support possible truth tellers, and also to discuss how you want to see the logic from here to the end of the quarter, to the end of March. Because you have us fully at your disposal until that time. And that is also why we were thinking, at least as Think Peace, that we were going to travel again to Iowa City to be with you for what you had called the culminating event, the event in March in which we kind of put together strands of work that we are all doing. But I see my colleague Melinda.
Thank you, Eduardo. To that, I would like to add, it might be interesting to consider creating a little pamphlet, a little flyer that might have the heading, "What is a Truth and Reconciliation Commission? Who is a truth teller?" Highlights from the document that Leo and I created, and we're happy to work with any of the commissioners who would like, like us to suggest what ought to go into something like that. They could be just handed out at an event.
I just want to jump on that. So Stephanie worked with her team to create a brochure for us that we can use at these events. If there, maybe we can share those. If there's anything else that needs to be put in it, maybe there could be an insert that can be easily printed and put inside it, or something like that, because I believe those are already printed. Stephanie, you can confirm maybe?
They've been sent to the printer.
They haven't, thank you. But I do like the idea of putting an insert into it. That would be kind of nice.
Yeah, we would be happy to make some suggestions of what would be included, or maybe the commissioners in reviewing the document would like to pick and choose what you all feel is important to include.
I think it might be, this might be one of those things where you all can tell us what you think would be most important, just so we don't have to go back and forth and decide, and we can work together to put that in there.
Sounds great.
If no one else has any other questions, what I do need from fellow commissioners, since this is our thing, is to know who would be available to join on that day for tabling, and to join in the community conversations. We can make this easy for everyone, so no one has to be there all day. We could set shifts, 1.5 to 2 hours for each person, or whoever's available, so that we can try to work on making sure that it's not too overwhelming, because it is a holiday as well.
I'll be able to, I can do maybe a couple hours. I just have to figure out what time slots and everything that you were talking about, but I should be able to put some time in.
All right. And Chastity, this is Lou Tassinari. I sent you, I think, an email with some of the availabilities that I had.
I did see that. Thank you. So this is something I can also follow up in an email after this meeting, just to try to set a schedule, see who is available. I mean, I'm sure we also have some people in the community that might be able to help out as well. I do see Leo has his hand up, so I will yield.
No, thank you. I just, to make sure that we are responsive, by when would you like the recommendations for inserts, and how many would you like?
Stephanie, if we were going to have inserts to put in with the brochures for the event, when would, I guess, you need to have that, and then we'll have to go backwards to figure out the timing.
Well, I mean, technically, we could, if it's like a page or two, the office could print them.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they'll cut and meet the size of the brochure, I don't know, if we do them.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're professionally done, obviously they would present a lot better than us just printing them off in the office. So to answer your question, to ASAP?
ASAP is wonderful. And to help with formatting and printing and such, do you have handy what the dimensions are of the flyer that are being printed?
Yeah, I do. I can look it up. I don't know it off the top of my head, though.
Beautiful. If you could send that, then we'll do our best to adjust and make the translation a little bit easier.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I have for the MLK event, unless there's any questions or things that anyone thinks we're missing, or for this first event in the community for our commission.
Any of the commissioners have any more thoughts on MLK Day? No? Anybody in the room?
Thank you very much. I just have two issues here. I'll first talk about the MLK Day. I remember the last meeting we talked about trying to inquire from the community using some kind of questionnaire who would be willing probably to surrender to us some form of testimony, experiences, and things like that. I thought this is a very important day that we can use that to collect a lot of information from the community about their feelings about other things. So one of the insights I suggest should be something to do with that. And I don't know who's going to help with that, the commissioners or the facilitators. Please, that is very, very important. We can't be talking about some things and then in the next meeting we throw them away. It's like you are saying that we are not making resolutions. Yeah, and the other question goes to Melinda. Thank you very much for preparing the commissioners and the public for the truth-telling events coming. And I really appreciate it. And the only part that probably you'd help us with is regarding truth-telling that does not come from those who have experienced those things. We have people in responsible positions. They are heads of departments, heads of all kinds of bodies in the community. They are in charge of data. They are in charge of all kinds of things. I think the commission probably also need to hear from them, because issues about education and other things, who is failing where, who is doing what, those things can't be only be given to us from the students only. We need to talk to maybe a principal somewhere. I need to talk to somebody in Johnson County regarding public health issues, data, and other things. So that is an area that I would ask the facilitators to help the commission with it. What does it take? That one, probably the preparation is different. Yeah. How much of rigor will the commissioners be putting these people to? What if they refuse other things? Because I think when you'll be talking about education or health, yeah, you get a view, but I think much of the data that we need to tell us about what's happening with the BIPOC people is probably in the reports and what these people know. So can the commission subject them to some kind of inquiry? Yeah, about what they know, what data they have, the data they're hiding, the ones they don't want to tell us probably. Today I was looking at a police report and I was very suspicious on the conclusions. Statistically, it was showing that there were some problems with the number of contacts with the Black people. The method was very clear, but in the conclusion, there was nothing to do with that. So I'm even suspicious of the researchers the city is using. Probably sometimes they don't come to the right conclusions. So Larry, this is to you. So look at it carefully, and but the commissioners, I agree, will also look at that carefully. Does the conclusions in the report match the evidence? Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
If there isn't anything else to add for number 5, we can go to agenda item number 6, please. The Native Partners Healing Circle training and events. Who is going to be leading that?
Hello, it's Manape. I believe, I'm not sure if Danielle's still on here or not. But I can speak to what we've discussed as far as what we wanted to offer and the strategy behind that. And of course, we're just offering, the commission would have to decide on any adaptations to the strategy, but I do want to point out that what we want to offer the community is going to be Iowa cities, you know, and we wanted to offer that because initially when we all came together, that the community had this feeling of people from outside of the community. And we're all on indigenous land here, so I certainly don't feel like an outsider, but I can understand that knee-jerk reaction from the community. And I know that they might even apply that to folks that are farther away. But when we put together this roadmap and contributed our piece of the healing circles, we wanted to offer this to the community first to help resolve some of that. And what we want to offer to Iowa City, these healing circles, talking circles, we wanted to lean heavier towards healing circle as opposed to really talking circle. The intention is, I seen it in the video that Melinda tried to share earlier, and I could see right there the importance of, after somebody shares, to be able to come into a space and a safe space where they can express their feelings and maybe decompress from the heaviness of a testimony or triggering and things like that, just to offer to reground. And also, when I say that we want to offer some of these spaces, some of these things, some of this is part conflict resolution, some of this is part decompressing or regrounding, and these aren't spaces where we really debate. These are spaces where we would all feel safe to open our hearts up a little bit and connect with one another, to find understanding at the end. Why did somebody make this decision? Well, they just told you like what they're going through, to find some compassion and empathy and I feel like these healing circles provide one of the best opportunities for a community to connect and understand one another. And I can see this having a bit of a legacy throughout the whole process. Even once you get through truth and you get into the reconciliation, there's dynamics involved that we're not even able to dive into that yet, because we got to get through the truth part. So these spaces can be offered to the community. Initially, we decided that we would do 2 talking circles to come and demonstrate through the Native lens how we do it, and how we might even recommend to the community how to do it. Because I know there's concerns of appropriation and things like that, and we don't want to sometimes people in the community read into the situation too much, and they might consider themselves a shaman or some kind of healer from a healing circle, go to a couple healing circles, and next thing you know, they're a healer. We don't want to perpetuate that. And we're aware of it, and we don't want to perpetuate that. But at the same time, we wanted to offer that to the community, and then 2 initial ones, and then maybe a week or 2 or a month to kind of process that experience. And we're hoping that somewhere in the community, somebody might benefit from that. Somebody might have a calling to that, and to call them into the space to learn how to facilitate that. That's not necessarily the commission. If the commission feels compelled if as an individual, then that's good too. But also I can see where stronger relationships with the Native community is very vital, and I certainly see I'm pro-Indigenous, so I feel like the best people to do this would be Indigenous people. But we don't know. We don't know until we put these on and reach out to the community to see who's willing to step forward, and but we've talked about those dynamics, and we've talked about, well, what if nobody stepped forward? I really don't want to go into the what ifs, but I just want to let everybody know that this second phase is a preparation for. We want to be prepared for. We don't want to do a survivalist knee-jerk reaction. Oh crap, we need to go into circle here to help remedy some conflict. We can anticipate that, and there can be people prepared to catch other community members. That's kind of the philosophy that I'm looking at this, and I feel that we can create something that is Iowa City's, something that folks would be proud of, a contribution from the Indian community. I think we can create something that's not so maybe Indigenous. I don't know how to frame that, but I think we can head off any opportunities of appropriation or anything like that. I think we can create something really healthy. I think combined, talking the experience from the Native Circle or the Native Partners, we have several decades of talking circle experience, and I feel like this is very challenging, and I never imagined all the dynamics and nuances that would go into this. But I want to reassure the commission that we're using every brain cell we got. We're using all two that I have to really try to be empathetic and compassionate towards the people that suffer from the traumas of all this. And yeah, I think that's about all I have to share. There's a lot of dynamics that can be discussed when we find somebody, or maybe even in the future, calling in Native people to actually facilitate those things. But we want to offer it, and I hope that the city can benefit, whether we're on commissions or just a worker in the community. I think this covers a lot of bases, and I can see it really beneficial throughout the different phases of Iowa City's truth and reconciliation. Hechetu Matakiasi.
I have a quick question, because so on the agenda, when it's talking about this healing circle trainings and events, and it was giving possible time ranges on that January 27th to 28th. But then I see on the brochure, it looks like the time was set the 11 to 4 on Saturday, January 27th and the 28th. Is that concrete then? So this is
well,
question about
not necessarily. I think we all feel like the things that we want to contribute are urgent, but nothing's really set in stone, those dates. It's good to try to have things locked in at least a month out, but it still can be tentative. I mean, if that might be too much with the rest of the stuff, I mean, we're already paid. We just got to fulfill our obligation. We're ready to roll. We could do this tomorrow if you want. We could do this next year if you want. But we do have this sense of urgency to find people in the community and to get them prepared for some pretty heavy steps. So does that help at all?
Have you seen this printout of the brochure like thing about the workshop details? I guess I thought that this was it. I'm a little confused about what this is and what's on the agenda.
So the agenda was posted, I think, prior to the dates being finalized. So
okay,
that's all. So the flyer is the most recent with the confirmed dates and times.
Okay.
Hi, I've had my hand up for a bit. I just wanted to respond to Monape.
Yeah.
Or Monape, sorry. I've been saying that wrong ever since I met you.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for saying that you want to be pro-Indigenous, because I think that this is a particular part of the TRC mission that should stay that way, considering how much erasure we face and how small our population is in Iowa due to genocide, relocation, and colonization. Right. So it's not like, oh, the population is small here, so it doesn't really matter. It's more like, well, the population is small here because of the things that matter to the TRC. So I think it's important that we could keep a component of this work that stays within Indigenous hands, if you will, and that it doesn't just get passed off to white folks, because honestly, that would really make me mad.
Yeah, there is an accountability to all this, and I know me, Terry, and Danielle, since we're called in to teach and educate about this, then automatically we're accountable to the community there and whoever steps forward. So but then there's
I would
also
say that that's not your job, though. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like,
right. But
that's our job to worry about, like, getting people in the right direction to you guys.
Oh yeah. And that's what I said earlier was like, I think the only piece that I see you guys really having to worry about with the talking circles is, just getting the call out to college students or just, Indigenous social workers or whatever's around, like,
Out of curiosity, will this be a paid position moving forward? I don't know who can answer that question. Maybe the
We do not have any money to pay anyone, so I mean, it could be if we get the money for it, but this is not, as of right now, paid for anyone. We do have some dollars, I know, that could be stipend for certain people. I don't want to discuss too much because I don't know all the details. Maybe Stephanie or one of the healing partners could explain a little bit more, but we don't have any set dollars for that right now. It could go into a recommendation, but yeah, just to let you know.
No. Chelsea, was there something we needed to just determine about the Saturday dates, the Saturday, February 3rd, Saturday, February 10th?
As far as I know, these dates are set in stone. These are not dates that we're required to be a part of as a full commission. This is something, if you are very much interested in this piece of our TRC process, you can attend. As far as I understand, our job is to get people that we believe would be very interested in helping us facilitate these type of reconciliation pieces. So I know that our Native partners, V and Annie, worked very hard to try to find dates that would work best for themselves and being in our community. So unless Monape would like to say something different, I think that these are very much set in stone.
Yeah, I do want to thank everyone that was communicating with us to try to nail this down. I do feel like we've really, I think we were supposed to do these talking circles back in the fall, and I think like November was like when we were going to start training people, and then there was kind of a timeout, and then this is kind of like the new dates where we're going to push forward again. So we're ready. And, I think everybody wants to see those dates to do what is asked of us, so, but at the same time, it's the commission's call on if they want to push that back or not. Yeah.
If I could, for 1 second, sorry, I just wanted to clarify a couple of things. The timing was really looking at the roadmap and seeing, we have this culminating event, and we want to make sure that, Native partners or whoever they're working with, people feel like they've had time to really sit and digest and, work with Native partners and however that ends up working out. And so that was really why, we were thinking at the end of January at the latest. I realize that everybody's trying to be sensitive to the overloading of you all. And I just also want to clarify that I know that it says in our written document that this was a training that was for commissioners. It's not actually, it's actually and I don't know how that got lost in translation, but it's really training for the community, as he was pointing out. So I think that the offering here is really geared towards community, and if commissioners want to attend, awesome. But I think that really the intention was for the entire community, and it's really a matter of 3 weeks trying to get the word out, making sure we're getting as many people or the right people as folks were talking about that to do the training, to work with Manape and Danielle and T on experiencing things and practicing if that were the case. So I know that they have, like he said, they're ready to go. And I just wanted to clarify why those dates were. It's not, we didn't randomly pick those. It really was trying to look at the roadmap of things. Now, if you all decide that roadmap is not what you want, then, we could adjust. I just worry that it is only 3 weeks. So if we would just need to adjust pretty quickly if that was the case. Clarify
the dates are fine with me. I'm not worried about the dates. I'm sorry to be a sore thumb. I keep bringing things up this meeting that is slowing us down. I apologize, but who decided that this was like for the community to train anybody in the community? Who made that decision? We did as a
well, I kind of initiated that because earlier when I first opened up my intro with this, I discussed the dynamics of the community feeling like we're all outsiders somehow, or the facilitators were outsiders. Mm-hmm. And so me and Via kind of talked about that, and I felt like a good way to quash some of that is to make them feel included.
Yeah, no, that's great. I love that, Manape.
Yeah.
So that's not my issue. My issue is the reason I fought so hard to get Native facilitators for these circles was because I didn't want white people carrying out Indigenous practices in our community to heal others, as has been done for centuries, with people playing Indian and shamans and, whatever. And so like, we're kind of coming back to that now. It's like a circle, right? It's like, hey, we need to do this the right way, but now we're opening it up to the community so anybody can do this. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, and I think the commission just would say, well, no, let's just offer it to the Native community then.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I apologize because I was absent for a couple of meetings, just because the nature of my work. I don't just have like I just don't work 9 to 5. So if that happened without me present to say anything, I apologize. But I would like these trainings to, I guess people can come, whoever can come because it's already out there. but like, wouldn't it be great if we could somehow rally Indigenous folks in the area to show up? I mean, that would be sort of a way around this. Just some thoughts I'm having.
Yeah.
Cows, can I ask you a question?
Who is that?
This is Commissioner Dillard. Sorry.
Okay, yeah.
So I want to be sensitive to your concerns. And I hear you. You're saying you do not want to allow white people to attend to be able to do these trainings and these experiences. Are you saying only white people, or are other people in our community that are using restorative justice practices that happen to not be white? Would that be okay?
Yeah. No, it's like saying like, hey, is it okay as an Indigenous person if I wear this regalia from Africa or carry out this practice from Africa, right? Like, I'm just like, we should try to get like Indigenous peoples like from this area to carry out these trainings or these circles. Because what I'm trying to say here is there's, like Manape said at the beginning of his talk, all this land is stolen, right? And like, we have such a little representation as it is. And we need that way of thinking and these teachings to be a part of this so we don't forget like who has been genocided, right? And if we just open this up to, I have done this work for a long time, since I was 19, and so I see trouble if we don't let like Indigenous peoples carry out like practices that were created by Indigenous peoples. I think that we need to respect that.
I totally understand that, and I'm wondering if there's a way to incorporate other ethnicities, that like African Indigenous people or other groups that would like to have their own practices a part of it, which is one of the things we talked about when Manape and T did their training with us. How can we incorporate those other parts too that would also fit within the healing circles process?
I think that would be great if we had some, because I mean, circles happen from all over. They happen all over, right? So like, it would be great if we had some facilitators that could carry out some, circles that relate back to, like African ways of doing things. But all I'm saying is, can we respect the fact that this is Indigenous land and that this is like Indigenous country, and that like, if we're going to start with some circles, let's respect that one way of doing it initially, and then obviously we can build from that. But I'm just like, this is I feel like that's an important point to make.
Manape, isn't that what you said? Is that what you said, how this was going to be led anyway?
Yep. And then whoever you all want us to teach, whoever we can get there, we're willing to share what we have. And honestly, like, even just in my own, how I see, when I say we're offering this to the community of Iowa City, my mind is thinking of BIPOC people automatically. So yeah. Maybe in my discussions, I didn't make that clear. So my apologies, but automatically that's what I think. So
that's how I took it. So, sorry.
Yeah. And I've met some beautiful people in Iowa City that are first generation African, and I think about what it might be like back there, and after talking with some beautiful folks on the commission, it really isn't much different. And so that's a beautiful thing to me. And already we're connecting a little bit more, so that's encouraging.
Was there any other, did you have something you want to say? I'm sorry.
Sure. So Sakowis, this is Annie. And when you and I had an experience of the online circle, so to speak, the online meeting. You and I, like, and some other folks, like in September a year ago. Are you there, Sakawas?
Yes, I'm listening.
Sure. So I'm just asking for clarification. When are you talking about what Manape is doing as healing circles, as opposed to what you were talking to me about, which was talking circles? Is that the distinction that we're talking about?
Yeah, I would imagine that, yes, that's how, because I mean, Manape and T are bringing in like a very distinct indigenous approach to this, as you know, because you've been to them. So that's what I worry about, because we have prayer, we have our medicines, we have, you know, a way of doing things that like is just, again, I think is going to be exploited.
I definitely hear you. And so I'm fine with, I'm just hearing the distinction of these are the healing circles that are more like Manape did for the commissioners. And that's what's going to be taught.
Honestly, like, I don't even know why I'm still talking about this right now. Like, it's very simple. We don't need to keep going down that road where we're parsing everything apart and where everybody's trying to like eventually get back to like what they really want. And like, I just think we should respect indigenous ways of doing things and respect indigenous people and just let us do our thing. Let us try and pass this on to indigenous people.
Have you even seen this workshop details?
Yes.
No, I'm not talking about it's Sakawas. Have you even seen what's written out?
And I've only seen what's in the calendars. I only have like these things down in my calendar. So like, I just want to make sure that whatever, you know what? Sorry, just forget it. It sounds like no matter what we do on this commission, it's still going to go back to the status quo. Okay. I just want you all to know
that's
that.
That's not what my
that's
point
what's
is.
happening.
Actually, that's not my point. I just wanted to clarify the difference.
I don't want to clarify these differences anymore. I don't want to have to get into these like conversations where we like, it's just, I am saying what I'm saying. And it's like, I said what I said about us being overworked, and it's like, everybody just talks around it. We're not actually coming up with like solutions or responding to people's like very concrete examples of like what should be done. So maybe I'm not for this commission. Like maybe this is for like other people, and like people need to do this work out in our communities within our own, within our own organizations. But I'm going to be quiet now for the next time until we're done.
And I'll be quiet now too. Thank you. I apologize. I'm not trying to renegotiate. Just understand. Thank you.
No, I understand, Annie. I'm sorry. I'm just tired.
Any other comments or discussions, questions? And I guess we move on to agenda item number 8, the update on fact finding.
I think that was the one that
it's already been taken care of.
No, check your text. I think it was asked to be skipped over, if I'm correct.
Your text.
Chastity, is that
correct? Yes, it's correct.
Oh, so we can skip it?
Yeah, this is Larry Schooler, Vice Chair. We don't have a separate update that we need to share at the meeting.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, then agenda number 9, discussion on TRC model presented by Commissioner Simmons.
So I think there are three areas that I would like us to discuss. One was that I made a presentation about a model that we should use. Then I updated that presentation about the model and wanted to get feedback whether this is a model that we should try to explore and leverage and use. I think the answer was yes, but I didn't get anything really definitive. Because if it is yes, my hope would be is that we would then share the model with the city council so that they would know this is the model that we're looking to explore, with the understanding that, again, we're testing things out, and so we want to see what stuff works or not. So that will be the first thing. What needs to be done to either approve the model as a model or to not approve the model as a model?
You're talking about the presentation that you did, was it two?
So the presentation that I think that I did, maybe
Was it in November?
it was either the last meeting in October or the first meeting in November. It was the presentation that also had, here were the projects that I would like for us to be able to consider. Say again? The 16th of November was the time of the presentation, and that's where the model was. So it was just simply the model that says, here's all of the items in order, and we're going to then test these different items to make sure that they work well in order. So I'm really just asking that there be a vote that this model is approved to be tested, not that this model is is the model that we're going to end up with, but this is the model that we're planning on testing.
Stephanie, I don't have with me at the moment, what was the outcome of that meeting? Do we have it in the minutes?
They would have been in the minutes at your December 7th meeting because they were from the November meeting date.
Okay.
But it was the slide deck where Chad presented several suggestions for programming and events.
Yeah, well, I remember the event that was in November, but I'm just trying to remember, I can't remember what the outcome, and I wasn't here at the December 7th meeting, so that was part, I was trying to remember what we decided. Chastity, do you remember?
Question.
Your question is about, can you give me your question one more time, Lauren?
Yeah, I don't.
So I remember the presentation in November and the model, but I can't remember what we did not vote on it that day. I can't remember what what did we do about it? Did you say we're going to talk about it at the next meeting? I'm not sure what the result was after receiving the presentation. I remember the presentation. I just can't remember what we were doing after that. Did we decide that we're going to vote on it later?
I mean, I don't remember us ever talking about voting on it. I thought it was mostly agreement that we liked the updates. Is it something that we need to necessarily vote on, or?
Well, it sounds like it was a model you wanted to maybe present to the city, exactly?
Well, yes, I think it just has two components, and if it is your desire to wait, then that's fine. The one component it has was it was a model that then will allow us to validate whether, again, what has been presented as far as the roadmap, whether it fits that model. So that's the first thing. So we support the model to be tested, then we want to make sure the roadmap fits that model. If we don't support it and we're fine with whatever is presented in the roadmap, then we don't necessarily have to approve anything, but we can't share to the city council, here's what the model is. And there's value, in my opinion, of sharing to the city council, here's what we believe the model is that we're going to be testing.
Okay.
So I have no problem with holding off and then presenting again the same model and then having us to make a decision to vote on it if we choose to, as well as I don't have a problem with us just simply scrapping the concept and going with what we ultimately make a decision upon, it seems today, on the roadmap.
Well, actually, it might be a good idea if at the next meeting, we want to revisit your model we have this roadmap. We're also expecting the narrower roadmap. And we can have a discussion and look at your model, look at the roadmap, see how it works, whether we combine it together or whatever, and make a decision at the next meeting.
On that note, then the other question is that I'm not sure if the dates will be adjusted for our roadmap. If the decision is to look at a roadmap that's going to be at the end of January versus it be decided now, will the dates be adjusted, or are we saying that we're going to keep the exact same dates that we currently have?
Let's see here.
And when we continue discussing the model / roadmap, I will work on being very clear. I'm not sure whether it's the relationship or the difference, because what we've been doing or what the TRC is charged with, it's on a resolution which spells very clearly what's to happen. And that's what we have been doing. And now with the additional help of the facilitator. So before going forward, I want to be very, very clear how it ties together to the model / roadmap, because I'm seeing we are already doing this.
I think you bring up a very interesting and great point, which is, again, what is our charge? And I believe our charge was really related to identifying kind of the things around truth-telling, around fact-finding, truth-telling, and reconciliation. I also believe that in essence, when we're doing that, we're trying to figure out a model to be able to make this happen on a consistent basis over periods of time. And we were looking to figure out, based on the things that we had learned, whether it was related to strategic doing, whether it's relating to the healing partners, whether it was related to the TRC models that have been used before in the past, what in essence best fits us from a city perspective. And then the last part is that once you kind of do all of that, or at least my thought was, then you have to provide recommendations, right? Here's a model of what we should do. Here's some recommendations about be able to address some of the issues or concerns that in essence we believe that need to be in existence for people to understand, and then allow the city council to then take it from there and then make decisions about what they wanted to do to move forward. As an example, we may say there's not work, we can't get all of the work done based on the year that we have left. We believe that there needs to be a permanent commission, and this is what the permanent commission should be, and this is what their charge should look like. Would just be an example, right, of something that we would say, here's our recommendation to the city council. Now, it could be they take it and they could love it, they take it, they could hate it, they could take it or they could just ignore it. We don't control what the elected officials do, but this is something that we're at least charged to provide recommendations for. So I'm just trying to just make it clear from the perspective of at least the work of what is leading what. Is it the chicken or the egg? And then once you have one decided which one goes first, then you can then check the other one and make sure it fits with the model in which we, in essence, decided to put first. That's really the only thing that I'm requesting. To do it more in the format that you talked about is, I said, I'm really trying to figure out how to make sure that the syllabus is truly a syllabus.
If I can answer your question, I do believe that, if anything, the roadmap was informed by the model that you presented, Chad. I don't know if it's completely there. I need to look at them again side by side, but I believe when we left that meeting, we collectively agreed that we liked what you had put together.
And thank you, Chair. I greatly appreciate it. I don't see anything around reconciliation in the motto.
You mean on the roadmap?
On the roadmap.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's not a problem. It's just, again, it again better informs the work that in essence this needs to be done. So I'm not trying to say one way or the other. I'm just saying that this is an opportunity for us to make a decision, and whatever decision we make, then I think that it should stand.
I mean, would it be possible for us in the next meeting to have it be completely focused and limited to a decision with respect to the existing roadmap and a reconciliation of the model and the roadmap so that we can move forward?
And my question to you is that simply that I'm trying to make sure that we have beforehand is the roadmap willing to be altered? Or are we saying that the roadmap is the way it is?
I think they said earlier that things can be
right. And
so I want to make sure I understand. So how I'm looking at it is, so you've provided the model that would be used when we carry out the work, right? But this roadmap that they provided is still like the training and kind of getting our feet wet. So we're not gonna do reconciliation yet. But I mean, maybe we can.
You should.
Are you concerned like there should be something built in case we do come across these situations, or am I just taking it to a whole, taking it on a whole other path?
So are we on two roadmaps?
No.
What else?
I'm not trying to take it to a whole nother level. I'm really trying to keep this really basic and really just simple. Is that I'm just trying to think of what is it we're going to use to make sure that what we're doing fulfills all of the requirements that we put in place.
And so one of the things you're saying, which is you felt is lacking in this roadmap, is about the reconciliation component.
The roadmap doesn't have anything around reconciliation at all. And I'm fine with that. The proposals and things I recommended, a lot of those have things around reconciliation, but the roadmap doesn't have anything about reconciliation. And then the other thing is that it's the timing of when certain things happen, because we wanted to actually see it work through. The other thing that we got feedback from one of our mayor pro tem is that she likes to see if there's a possibility if it can work specifically with a group of individuals, a community, and specifically she wanted to target around immigrants because of things around language and things that in essence will be challenging to make sure that we are thinking through this from everyone's perspective. Mm-hmm. I thought that was as much as I know this is to me, in my opinion, as much as I believe this is about race, I do understand the importance of when it comes to ethnicity and when it comes to culture, how that can have an impact on how people receive that. That's some of the things that we've been experiencing even now when we're talking about healing partners, right? It's about, we want to share, but we're not giving up the essence of who we are and why we do this. This is more important to us than just, this is more important to us than just giving you, this is our process, right? We're not doing that. This is bigger than that for us. So I'm fine. I will shortcut my way to this and say, I'm totally fine with me bringing this up. I'll bring the model and I will bring it next at our next meeting. And then we can just say that this is something that we support or not. Is that acceptable? Or we can take a look at this in comparison to the roadmap and then disagree that we support whatever work we want to get done.
Yeah, because the roadmap is not something that we need to, obviously, we don't have to go to the city for. This is something that we're setting, the timeline and everything for the rest of this contract. And so I know your model, if I remember correctly, ultimately was something to be presented to the city as part of a recommendation. Was that correct? Or no?
So my model was just a model. It doesn't have to be presented to the city.
Okay.
My thought was it just gives the city a kind of a picture of the work that we're going to be doing within the roadmap. It makes it simple for the
You want the
city.
structure.
Yeah, just
And
give
you're-
them a
and this
structure.
is-
Bingo.
Okay.
It
so
just gives them
this
the structure
model.
so that they can just say, okay, this is it. And then they can then, from a big picture, 50,000 foot level, they could say, okay, we see where you're going. We don't know if we believe it, but we still see where you're going. And we say, well, we don't know if we believe it either, but this is kind of what we're going to test out.
Okay.
So again, I want to make sure I understand. So what you're saying is instead of doing this roadmap, that's just a bunch of, I don't want to say it like that. It's a lot of different things happening. Not necessarily with like some sort of strategic order, where if we went with your model, you would actually like to go with the model for this roadmap.
Well, what I'm saying is that I do agree with Chairman, Chairwoman Dillard. I do agree from that perspective that again, this is just a big model. This is a way for us as commissioners to communicate to the city council.
Mm-hmm.
The roadmap that they gave us was for us to communicate with the consultants, but they need to be in harmony with each other so that someone can say, well, you gave us this, but you did something totally different. I just want them to be in harmony from that perspective. And one of them has to lead the way. If the roadmap leads the way, then we should make sure that the model fits what the roadmap says for us to do in the way that it says for us to do it. So that when we give it to the city council, then there's not a feeling that we're in conflict.
Okay. So one thing, if we're also asking for the more streamlined roadmap, so it's not, so we're focused on maybe on one thing as opposed to whatever else. But one thing which we'll be getting from Laurel, but one thing we want to look for, because you said, which I kind of agree, looking at this, is that there is not the reconciliation component. It doesn't seem to be reflected into this roadmap. Maybe that also somehow can be included, and so that we have that to compare with your model the next time and say if it matches, then we can run with it.
We can talk about that. Or again, my thought is I don't want the healing partners work to happen before fact finding. You with me? Because fact finding is supposed to go first. Then it's supposed to be a certain order. And if it all's in its right order, then we can then get a better feeling of the flow. And I don't want anything to be in conflict with the other thing. That's all I'm just saying. I'm willing to follow whatever we say we're going to follow. And it can be as simplified that we want to work on one topic, right? That one topic could be, cheeseburgers, whatever it is, right? And we're going to follow through on that one topic with how we have it set up, either through the roadmap or through the model. They just have to be in sync with each other. That's all I'm asking. Because I still want to take the city council 50,000 foot level and say, this is what we're testing. That's my suggestion. And it does tie into some of this other stuff I'm getting ready to say. So just something just to think about. I'll bring the model back. I now am not asking for a decision. And then we can just take a look to make sure if there are any adjustments or changes, so we can do that.
Okay.
And I don't know how the word will go, the word testing, using it, especially on people. The word testing is very triggering because some tests have been done and they've really caused harm on some of those people that it's used with. Yeah, but it's still very confusing, the model and seeing it together with the resolution. And something I also don't want to lose is the phase 2, when we were being taken through. Reconciliation is also happening in that work. for example, the work with the healing partners, that's part of the reconciliation piece. And even as we do the truth telling, as it's going on, reconciliation is also happening. Even as the video was being presented, there was support for the person telling their truth. So they are, and it's the phase 2 is we are still on track with the charge. So for me, I'm just seeing some redundancy with the model / roadmap because we are already following the resolution and the 3 charges that are there. But maybe I'm seeing it as the same as what we're doing, just because I probably don't see the details. And when I think of the city council, I think of the times we have been there. We've been sent back again and again to go and be clear to ourselves. What are we presenting and what are we asking for, especially if it's money?
So, Commissioner, the thing that I would tell you is, and being a descendant of enslaved folks, it does not, for me, represent anything close to reconciliation. And maybe for others it does, and I could appreciate and I can understand that. But for enslaved, for me, from my experience, it does not. It comes nowhere close.
Oh, I'm coming from what is out there on what the training and the research that has been presented and the work that has been done on other truth and reconciliation commissions and what constitutes reconciliation. That's where I was coming from.
Right. What I'm just simply saying is that in America, based on the experience of America through enslavement and based on the lack of, you can call it reparations, that has never been in essence resolved. The fact finding for us has been done. There has been plenty of work that has been done around how one should manage and try to focus on healing and forgiving oneself. But there has been no resolution when it comes to what doesn't happen once you've identified where the harm is, how that in essence gets eliminated. And so I do acknowledge that it's different for different individuals and different for different communities, but their resolution does not exist for me in the process of what in essence has been done in America.
Okay. Leo, you have your hand up, and then Chastity, and then, okay.
Great.
Thank you. So, Commissioner Simmons, thank you. And I want to speak to the roadmap and the conversations that we've been having in the consultancy team is around why we are presenting it here today, why we did present it here today, was to make sure that it was done early enough for us to be able to make the adjustments according to the needs of the commission. And so with your model, I'm not familiar fully with it yet. So I'm in the process of having a chance to read through it, to compare, and you're speaking through the need for reconciliation and reparations. Definitely hear that. And that is what is grounded in the foundation is built through the fact finding and through the truth telling. And so the experience of Iowa City, Black folks in Iowa City who have the history that you do. And so thank you for speaking on that here. The experience in Iowa City is different from different places. And so when you hold these truth-telling fora, these truth-telling hearings, then it exposes the specific harms to Iowa City that even though they are systemic, they are specific to Iowa City. And so they may be similar to Greensboro, they may be similar to Ferguson and elsewhere, but they are specific to Iowa City. And so through the truth-telling process of hearing from people what it is like what it is like to be in the lineage of enslaved people in this context, within these systems, and the specific harms that are caused by these systems in this context, having those exposed through these truth-telling hearings is then what leads to the reparations, or the call for reparations, and establishing a process for that. And so the reconciliation portion of the charge of the commission is reflected in this roadmap for Q1, right? Just this phase 2 is the healing, the fact finding, and the truth telling, and the healing to lay the foundation, because you won't know what is going to be necessary to facilitate that until it is guided by the people. Because I forget who mentioned it here earlier. It might have been Sakawis. Please forgive me if I'm giving wrong attribution. But the way of this society and these structures of top-down imposing on communities what they need to do is exactly what cannot happen. And so by going through the process, you've talked about implementing a model as a model, right? And so going through uplifting the facts, finding them, what is the data that exists, and what is the truth that is shared, right, by the people, the experience, the lived experience and expertise of people who live under oppression. And what does that look like in this area? Exposing what are the stated needs of the community in order for reconciliation to be made possible. And so the truth-telling hearings are the avenue through which reconciliation is made possible. And so that's where the truth-telling hearings need to be held in order to fully honor the stated needs of the community, as opposed to having it be a body, quasi-governmental or otherwise, feeling like it's imposing the will of the state on the people, as opposed to being responsive to the stated needs of the people, which is the purpose of the truth-telling hearings. And the rest of the roadmap for clarity. Addressing the longer term portion of this is that the detailed roadmap is for our deliverables to make sure that we come through to provide you with the tools that you need. And part of that is going to be a more comprehensive, streamlined, hopefully manageable and acceptable roadmap for providing some options, right? So not telling you what you need to do, but providing options on what is possible in order to do this work well, to honor the voices and the needs and the harms that have been inflicted on the people that you care for and the people that you represent and reflect. And I yield.
I have a quick question to follow up with what you just said. Sorry, this is Vice Chair Merritt. But since part of the charge has to do with, I said the reconciliation, and we understand that, what the potentials of coming through truth-telling events and all, where though in the roadmap is the component where you're taking the information from the truth-telling, whatever else, and you start to formulate some sort of reconciliation. That's at least some kind of event or something that I would think should be addressed in the roadmap, since that is part of the charge and part of phase 2 contractually.
Yes, and so that makes perfect sense. Yes, and so that is the composition of the 3 culminating events are specifically to show that model, to show a model of what is possible and how to hold these spaces in order to do the fact finding, walk through the truth telling, and here it is labeled healing circles, but that facilitates the reconciliation portion. But it is through the culminating events that we aim to meet that contractual deliverable.
Cassidy, did you still have something you wanted to talk, or is your hand now down? Oh, maybe she's not there. Annie?
Thanks. What was really helpful was that you guys asked for a roadmap, right? So it gave us an opportunity to go, great, let's put it all in a chronology. And we bring it to you with you guys asking for what you want, what's missing. And when you, so two things that I heard you say, Chad, that were useful to me, like that I really wanted to address, not only two things that were useful, but two things. Let me just, the way you say things makes a difference. So there were two things that you said that I wanted to respond to. The thing about having the healing partners at the beginning, and it could happen differently, but we were thinking that if it happened near the beginning, like in the first third, then in February, if you look at the roadmap, there are two more experiential circles for the community, and that gives the trainees a chance to work with Montpelier and right, sorry, kinesthetic here. So if you the way it's structured right now, and it can be changed, the calendar can be changed, but right now it's set so there's an experiential circle for people to kind of confirm, yes, I want to be part of it, and then go into the training. And then in the next month, there are two more experiential circles for the community members so that the people who've gotten trained can work with Montpelier and Danielle and T in providing community circles, which are healing circles, and be ready then for the culminating event. So it's building community capacity and ability to provide the circles. And the thing I want to say about circles, which are not healing circles, but are used in restorative justice, or some of you may have experienced a healing circle with Montpelier. You've got people who have the different experiences, having a chance to speak and hear each other. And in one of Dave Ragland's writings, he said that part of reconciliation is being able to speak and be heard. I think what I think of reconciliation also is be heard and work together on it. And when those healing circles provides the chance to be heard and be moved and shift based on what you've heard. And you can tell that someone shifted by what they say in the next round. And so I see people in circles where somebody's caused harm, somebody's been harmed, and what comes up for them in the different rounds, in the next go round, is a shift, and you can hear the shift in understanding. So that's a place where reconciliation does occur. The other place that I think is really foundational to what you're talking about is the recommendations that you make to the city. Like you're going to say to the city, yeah, to make good on this, to actually make a shift, to reconcile what's happened, to repair what's happened, here's what we recommend. So those are places that I see reconciliation already existing in the resolution and this expression of it. But definitely if you have other ideas about, additional ideas about reconciliation, what it might look like, that's what you guys get to do. You're creating this. We're just bringing you what we have.
So I'd like to comment on that. Is that acceptable?
Sure. Yeah.
I used to be a member of the chamber. The chamber, I was a member very supportive of the chamber.
Are you saying like of commerce?
Chamber of Commerce.
Got it.
And the chamber had been working and struggling with the issue about whether they're going to form with the economic development group or be separate. Now, I've been a part of this probably, let's say over the past, let's just say 10 years. Okay, my number's probably gonna be off, but let's just say 10 years. I watched Cedar Rapids kind of go through it, right? And so I'm watching it happen in Iowa City. I understand as a small business owner that a lot of this was being pulled and pushed by very influential people that were working for big companies that made my voice less relevant. You with me?
Yeah, I am.
One of the values of having someone like a big brother, I have a big sister, when people would come and try to mess with me, they'd have to think twice because they were messing with, eventually, my big sister. She didn't like that. My big sister's around, she's around 6'1" tall, right? So she's still shorter than me, but they still didn't, they didn't mess with me because she grew faster. The value of being connected to Iowa City City Council is when Iowa City talks, because it has reach in every part of the organization. If I really want something changed at some of the arts, and I get my big sister to get involved, then some of the arts will change. Because that's what it is, right? It can manage that. So there's a value of being able to do certain things if you have the ability to be able to make that happen, right? You and some of it is just not, it's not about me, it's about who stands with me.
Right.
The commission is trying to make recommendations about, for the city, this is why you should stand with us. Because if you stand with us, you can make system changes that can, in essence, allow us to be able to do the work we do. The issue of Mr. Floyd and the police officer and the situation was he had his foot on his neck. He didn't have to pick him up. He just had to take his foot off of his neck. That's all it is. So I'm just simply saying is that there are systems out there that create problems. They create havoc for us. There are people that do things because they just have relationships. Some people don't even know they have the relationships, they use them, but some people really know they have them, they use them. I just want us to be in a situation where we can get our big sister to be able to help us get others to think differently about managing different things. That's really the only thing that I'm really asking for. And in this model, I'm just simply saying, does it work? Now, for some people, there is the belief that reconciliation is about me feeling better, about you feeling better, and we all feel better. But if you understand what it is to be descendants of enslaved folks, and you understand what it was to have a civil war, only to then followed by Jim Crow, if you understand that, then you understand that it can't just be from an individual to an individual. It has to be from a system to a system. Now, it's not going to be for everyone. I understand. It could just be culturally, it could be my experience and the people that I represent. It could be our experience. I just acknowledge that. But I'm just trying to go after the system to be able to understand, to at least allow that the system is not putting their foot on our necks. That's all I'm trying to say. The way the process works, whether healing circles are first or second, I'm not trying to disrupt that. I'm just trying to say what comes first, what's leading this thing, what makes this make sense. That's all. And however we go, we'll go. And if we say we're not going to do anything and we're just going to let it happen, then a part of that I'm going to be accepting of. The other part I'm not, because I'm not willing to waste my time on foolishness. I'm not willing to invest all of this money in consultants and the people actually get nothing. Nothing. I want the people to get something from this overall experience of something that happened more than 3 years ago. Right. And people eventually will not care about this. I know that. So that's just my truth.
And there are even people who are against it. So there's that worth bringing in the room.
Listen.
But so, oh, I'm sorry, I interrupted. Go ahead. No, I am listening.
I appreciate it. I'm fine. Go ahead.
So it isn't, I wanted to bring that. I guess I think that where your big sister comes in is the recommendations that you bring to the city council and the city council implements. Is that, are we on different pages?
You're absolutely right. But the project that we have currently put in place does not allow that to really happen. What's really happening is that it's further an expansion of phase one. And then there comes a period of time that we're left by ourselves with no consultants, right? That we still have to come up with the recommendations. We have to write the document, and then we have to then present it. So there's still 9 months of work that is just us as of right now, based on how it's being set up.
Great. So can I say a couple things? She's a talker. She's trying not to talk. So number one, the way this thing was designed was that you guys had a staff person. The city did not do that. So I'm just saying that would have been there.
Annie,
And
I'm gonna stop this for a second.
Okay, doc.
I do acknowledge that not everything has been perfect. I acknowledge that, and not everything has run the way it's supposed to. I totally acknowledge that. But I am a person that will not allow excuses to get in the way of my success. And what I'm simply concerned about is the commission is going to be judged on something. And what we have been judged on is chaos in the past. I want us to be judged on a positive outcome that comes from it. I'm not interested in hearing why we aren't getting paid. I'm not interested in hearing where the city should have done better for us. I'm not interested in even trying to address some of those challenges. I'm really trying to say, how do we get to success? If you can share with me ways of getting to success, I'm down with it. But if you're going to share with me about the faults of others or us and how we got to where we're at, I'm just not that interested.
Great. I'm not interested in complaining or whining. I just wanted you to know that integral to the vision of it, there was that you had someone to work for you. Okay. Someone just devoted to what you guys needed. So I'm not about whining about any of it.
I would just tell you that even if we had that person, we still would be at the same place.
Great. And so then what I think tonight has been useful, just speaking candidly, is that you guys are looking at workability, what the dynamics really look like and feel like, let alone livability of your lives, and also how to be successful in accomplishing the goals in the resolution, right? The resolution lays it out for you. So if you see things that you need, or if you need more help, you've said more than once, we want help writing it. So then create a proposal, or either ask people involved here or create a proposal with the city council. Definitely, I liked that Eduardo said, make a plan and ask to fund the plan. So I'm not trying to be naive. Oh,
I have a plan.
Right. Good. And so I just support you guys figuring out what you need and asking for it.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. Thanks.
Okay. So I think as of right now, we're going to revisit your model the next meeting.
Yes.
We are going to get a streamlined roadmap.
Yes.
And we're going to compare the two, see how it's incorporated, whatever else.
Yes.
Okay. And make some kind of decision at the next meeting. What else did you need to discuss?
So the two more things I needed to discuss.
Yes.
The first thing is that there is additional work that we do need to do, and I believe that work should be done around reconciliation. I came up with concepts that I believe that we should think about exploring and implementing. The concepts were not fully vetted for everyone. So again, Commissioner Sakawa brought up good points that she felt that it did not necessarily hit the needs of Indigenous folks, and I would support that. I would just simply ask that we need help in coming up with some of those additional things that may happen. But I believe we need money to be able to do that work and to be able to document all of the work that we can do so that we can, in essence, effectively communicate to the community about that work. I'm recommending that we request around $250,000 to do projects that are going to be related to doing that work. A good portion of it being used for things around reconciliation and testing things out, but then other portions of it are going to be around fact finding or around truth telling. So that is what my recommendation is that we ask the city council for money.
I mean, kind of like the point of this, if we're putting together a template to use, we're going to need the money to implement.
So I can give a percentage of money that would go to these buckets, a maximum that we would in essence use, so that could be included. If you'd like me to include that within my motion, I have no problem with doing that.
Because I guess in my mind, I think the money's already, it's already been dedicated to these activities in a sense.
So there is money that is in a bucket that is that is waiting for us to request.
Yes.
Now the city council will have to make a determination whether they're going to allow us to use it or not. And again, that is their preview, that is their right to be able to make that decision. But we should ask for money to complete the project.
Yeah. I already know the answer to this question, but I'm saying that as long as it's consistent with what is in the resolution, what that money was for, which I already know it is.
It should only be used for what's consistent with the resolution.
Then
solution that will focus on fact finding, truth telling, and or reconciliation.
I second it.
Any further discussion?
I just have a question to our city staff, like, when this is approved, what is the process or the next steps to make that happen?
Well, typically, the city council reviews the minutes of all of those commissions through the IP information packet, and then they could bring that request up as an item to be discussed at the next meeting. That's one approach. Another approach could be to ask the city manager and the mayor to get that request on the agenda. So that's another approach. Or you could also have a couple of city council members also introduce it to be an item to be discussed or to be voted on. Did I cover all the ways?
I think.
Yeah.
Before we even go any further, I noted that Councilwoman Burgers had stood up in line. I don't know, Chair.
You're,
I was just going to note that the reconciliation was in the roadmap with healing circles, but I think we got it.
I didn't want to lose what you're standing up to say. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Someone repeat what she said, please.
Oh, when she originally stood up, she was going to mention how the healing circles were actually a component of reconciliation. Ready to vote on the motion?
Commissioner Simmons?
Aye.
Commissioner Tassinari?
Aye.
Commissioner Merritt?
Yes.
Commissioner Gathawa?
Abstain. Too much. I need to get clarity on the motion.
Commissioner Krebs?
Yes.
Commissioner Dillard?
I abstain for the same reason.
And Commissioner Nobis?
Yes.
Motion carries 5 with 2 abstaining.
And then my last topic is related to the responsibility of the commission that I just want to make sure is clarified. I'm not quite sure how to, in essence, put this or whether there should be an emotion or not. So I'm going to lean on the staff to better understand what I think my options are. I believe that there's some belief that that the commission has the ability to manage and control things like the contracts, that we are responsible for that, and we're responsible for the administration of it. But I've in the past gotten this feeling that there's like this thing of working with the city staff, working with the city council, and then working with the commission to figure out what in essence can or can't be done by the commission when it comes to the support of the commission. And so I wanted to get more clarity around that, specifically from either the mayor and or the city council, as far as what do we have the ability to control as it relates to the work that we have been required to do when it comes to contracts and the ability to move forward with contracts, to cancel or to administer contracts. So I can either put that in a motion or I can just put that in a request that is clarified to us, and then a letter is then sent to us of saying what we have the ability to do or not to do. What in essence falls within our responsibility.
I actually have I have a little note that I wanted to put down as an agenda item probably for the next meeting where we discuss expectations of our roles as well individually as well as commission, and exactly what what power do we have, whatever else, and what we don't have, and so that it's very clear cut going forward as to what we can and what we can't do. Would that suffice?
No, it wouldn't suffice for us to be in the next meeting, but it would suffice that we get the information by our next meeting about what we have the ability to do. So I don't think that it is something that we can just.
But at least have some discussion. We have to start and have some information hopefully by then.
Well, my hope is that that we're given instruction about what we have what we have control over. I just want to know what it is that we can do and what we can't do. This feeling to me of kind of these three separate entities, and you got to go to your parents to ask for stuff, or you can't, look, if I want to renegotiate with the consultants, then is it even a possibility that we can do the renegotiation, or is it no possibility at all? A lot of the problem is that, we want to, the person you love loves someone else, right? So it's, the communication is challenging with that. And I don't know if other commissions have that, but I would like to have more control over the ability of at least understanding how it is that we are to operate and play.
Yep.
And I think for every commission should want to know that. But
I've been wondering that since day one. Thank you.
Yeah.
I believe that
Chastity and then Sakawas, I'm sorry.
Oh, I don't have the answer for you, but I believe we don't need to vote on that. We can just ask our city staff if they could provide that to us in an email or something. Is that possible?
I'd like it more in writing versus an email. I like a letter from someone that's telling us this is what our based on our charge, this is what we have the ability to do or not. And I'm asking that it's not what I would call political talk, that it's not in essence beating around the bush to be able to say yes or no, but it's just simply saying, here's what the mandate of what you all can do and you cannot do this.
Mm-hmm.
And from the city attorney or something? Is that what you're asking for?
No, I don't want to hear from the city attorney. I appreciate the role of the city attorney. The city attorney, again, is trying to keep the the city out of jail, in essence, with the community. I need to hear from our leaders as far as what does our commission have the ability to manage or do, or, you know, on our own, or what are, you know, what in essence have they delegated to us to be able to do or not?
Can I talk?
Yep, your turn.
Yeah, thank you. I have been asking this since day one. Like, I've always been really irritated by it, and I've never gotten a straight answer. And we do have a city leader in like the office or the chamber or the room right now. Like, can we just see what they might have to say? Like, can we get this information? Like, can we ask, like, I'd love to ask if Laura Burgess is in the room, like, is this something, is this information we can get?
Gee, I thought she might have been talking about me, but put me in my place.
I'd be glad to answer the best that I can, which is that our staff has authority up to certain dollar amounts. My understanding is that the city manager can spend $60,000, I believe, without city council approval. However, if it is a decision that his office deems to be one of public interest or particularly political, which has been the case with TRC decisions up until this point at least, then he would bring that to the full council. But anything above that dollar amount would go to council anyway. And I'm sure there are other statutorily required things that would have the council involved. So it would depend on the type of expenditure. So no, I don't think any commission has budgetary authority in that way. If that makes sense.
But now, one of the questions he asked about was like, okay, we have a contract.
Right.
So if there's something that, because especially when we first started, we were kind of like, we're going to wing this a little bit because this is kind of brand new. We didn't know what was going on. Now that we have more under our belt, if there's something that we wanted to incorporate into the contracts now, that kind of stuff, it kind of changes. What, as a commission, do we have?
Yeah, I think the reason there hasn't been clear answers is that it does depend on the situation. It depends on the kind of change you'd be looking for. It depends on whether the other party in the agreement is willing to do that with or without a written amendment. The commission can't bind the city to a contract, but certainly you can make recommendations as to what you would want the changes to be. But if you all are working with the facilitation team and come up with an agreement for what the path forward is on what you want to do, and they say, great, that's fine.
So basically, and just to kind of add to that, I think we kind of went through this with the pause, right? The reason for the pause was because there was a motion by the commission to look at phase one being extended. And remember, we went through a process that what did that actually mean, and got legal advice stating that that was a large enough change that would require council intervention, right? If we remember having to come back and talk to the consultants, and they weren't necessarily on board with the change of the length of time and what that meant, and then came back to the commission. The commission then decided to basically drop that issue. And so then the contract restarted soon after that. So the process is, the commission's involved in the contract. And then I would also say reading the contract and understanding the commission's role within the contract, as is stated, is already in writing, already there. But there are some nuances that I think Commissioner Simmons is getting to that potentially could have some more staff interpretation or even clarification from the council. We can certainly go through that. I'm just listening to what you presented, but obviously if you provide it in writing, that might give us a little bit more clarity on some of where those nuance points might be. But certainly just from the contract standpoint, there are areas for the commission to participate and be involved in some negotiations, but it goes back and forth. If the consultants agree with those things and they're not substantially changing dollar amounts or some other major impact in the contract, then the city manager has the right to make those adjustments without having to go to council. But if there's substantial changes, which we thought and got advice that the last extension or pause between phases was substantial enough, then we needed to get clarification before we moved on with phase two, which the commission did vote on that too. So if I remember, that vote was to continue on with phase two.
So here's a couple of things. I'm not getting the exact same answer for every city council person. I get different answers. Okay, it is what it is. I have a situation where, again, where we raised an issue. Based on raising the issue, we were not able to pause, but what we end up doing was pausing anyway, right? And I'm not quite sure how that really happened, right? Because there was still work that in essence needed to be done. We're in a situation now that we've heard a time frame, right? We have a roadmap. And the question is that we're not going to make the decision about the roadmap possibly until the next meeting, which is in around
2 weeks.
the 22nd, right? Anyway, we're not going to be able to make a decision until then. But based on what you're saying is we have no ability to move the date back. They've set the date that is sometime in April, then the contract is up, right? So we have no ability to determine when the contract started for phase two, nor do we have the ability to know when the contract ends. So we're in a situation.
Well, let me just clarify just a bit. I think the previous discussion was we weren't really sure, or I think the date that was used before might have been somewhere around March before the phase two would start up again. And that was, I think, a difference of maybe 3 months or something like that. And that time frame, from my recall with conversations with city attorney, was substantial enough that he felt that needed to have council interaction or council approval. Let's just say that we're moving along and we think it's going to be a month. So maybe it's April instead of March or something like that. I'm not sure that would be considered to be a substantial change if all the parties would agree to that timeline without changing the dollar amounts or whatever. If there's some reasons why things are being held up or stalled or waiting for events to happen or whatever, those logistical things that might require that timeline to go. I'm not sure that would be considered to be substantial enough that would require city council or what would likely be in the city manager's purview to be able to make that a change without having to go to city council. So I hear you, but I think if the deadline being at the end of March is the concern, if that deadline was going to be a month, I don't think it's a challenge. 2 months may be a problem. 3 months might be a problem.
We still have approximately 9 to 8 months that we have no consultants. We still have the charter. We still have the thing to work.
Not dove into all those things. I understand what you're saying.
We have no master plan to put the presentation together of what we're going to need. That's going to include some of our recommendations. The work that's being done does not focus on the recommendations. The work that is done is focusing on whether the system works, right? So we're just trying to figure out, how do we use healing partners? How do we use a strategic doing? How do we use it? We're testing to see if we do that. So based on the way, and I'm just going to lay my cards out, based on how the meeting goes, based on the support we get or we don't, we will primarily be put in a box that we have if there's substantial change, we have to go to city council to make change to the current contract. And that will be the only option that we have if they don't approve the additional funding, which doesn't allow us to do all of the things related to reconciliation. This is the moment of truth. In my opinion, I could be wrong, but this is going to be the moment of truth about what is it going to be for the rest of the 9 months maximum that we have, and how we're going to be able to do the work. And the work that you currently, again, if you take a look at the roadmap, I mean, I'm curious and what ultimately the outcome is of that. I'm very, very curious about that. So it is a lot of work, a very short period of time. It is changing the tire on the moving car. I'm curious in how that works through, but I don't see it helping us when it comes to the proposal that we're going to have to write. But we'll see. That's all I would say. That we'll see what happens.
Thank you, Laura, for refreshing us on the role of the TRC commissioners. Yeah, thank you.
If I could maybe just offer one more historical comment, if that's allowable.
Sure.
We've had so many moments of truth, Commissioner. I think every meeting has felt like the commission is in a precarious place. And I think you have a tremendous amount of momentum right now and a tremendous amount of support from council and community compared to what you've had up until this point. And so I think you can leverage that. That's my personal opinion, speaking just as one member of the city council. And I hope that as daunting as the task is and how difficult it is to change the tire, all 4 tires on the moving car at the same time, I think is the analogy. I hope that you all find a path to stay with it to the extent that you can, because what you've been doing so far is phenomenal and unprecedented for our community. And it's terrifying, but hopefully I believe from sitting here for this entire duration that where you're headed now will be something really amazing. And what's laid out in the roadmap isn't that final recommendation. We don't know what that presentation to City Council at the very end is going to look like. That's true. And you have the opportunity to get through this and say, here's what more we need.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I do agree. Support from council that we are at this moment has been tremendous, beginning from getting over the hump of the city contracting the facilitator for us. Yeah. Speaking historically and from when I came in. I'm done.
Was anything else? Do you need to read from yours? Okay. We'll get it more in writing of what you want for the next meeting, and I will make sure we coordinate with getting the information so that we have that to review at the next meeting. Sound good? We'll move on to the next one. Announcements from commissioners. I don't see it.
I've got one.
Okay.
I just wanted to announce there's actually a press release out there. The Iowa City Council passed a resolution yesterday for permanent ceasefire in Palestine and Israel. This is quite significant as there are not many cities around the nation that have done this. I think it's just a handful. So I want to make sure that folks know this. And the resolution, I'll just read the resolution. The city of Iowa City passed a resolution supporting a permanent ceasefire in Palestine and Israel, the return of all hostages and the delivery of humanitarian aid, and affirming opposition to anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and anti-Arab bigotry with the aim of achieving a just and lasting political solutions. So it passed 4-3. So it just passed, and that's unfortunate because you think that there would be absolute support to end genocide. I just wanted to say that this is great, and we should be proud of our city council, and as the TRC, this is definitely something that falls in our realm of what we do, and maybe this is something to consider talking about in the next meeting. Thank you.
I actually have something too, sorry. And Sakawis, I might have to have you help me with location, but we've put together a petition fighting against the whitewashing of our institutions of higher learning. I don't know if you guys are aware that the Board of Regents is trying to gut DEI across all 3 universities here in Iowa. We've got a petition together. Can you tell, is it on
the petition can be found on Great Plains Action Society's Facebook page and Instagram page, and I will actually put the link as we speak. I will do it on our on the very front page of our website right now. So
awesome, thank you.
So we really love people to sign that petition.
Pass it around, share it with your friends.
Chastity?
First, I just wanted to remind everyone, if you do have anything you would like on the agenda, please get it to us this Sunday night beforehand. And I know that that's a holiday, so it'd actually probably be better on that Friday, which I believe is the 12th. Stephanie, you can let me know if that's correct or incorrect. The last thing I want to say is Happy New Year. Thank you everyone for being engaged and as much as you can capacity-wise. I appreciate you, and I know our community appreciates you, and I'm looking forward to what we can do together as a city staff, a team of consultants, and the commission as a whole leading this for this community. So thank you all.
I just want to say in relation to the shooting in Perry, Iowa, NISA African Family Services, we are working on finding out how the children of the domestic violence survivors who are in the school have been impacted because we are the only African immigrant organization in the state. So we are working with that. And then also being a school counselor educator and a licensed school counselor in Iowa, we are also using even in our own district and our own schools, we are also using what is coming out of that to continue improving how we teach school counselors to deal with crises and school and violence in our schools. So I wanted to put that out there that we are dealing with that, and also even as we do that, continuing to be culturally sensitive as we do that work in relation to the school shooting that has come to our state right now.
Real quick, I forgot to mention that there is an opening for our commission. I believe it's out now, and encourage everyone to apply to be a part of this and speak to city council members, letting them know who you would like to see on there. I personally would love to see Amos Kitche, who is always at our meetings. So I just encourage all of us to, just start talking to everyone. So thank you.
Okay. Announcements of staff.
I'm gonna pass, but some of the comments that were mentioned dawned on me that I probably should give a quick presentation on the city council's legislative priorities as we move forward into our legislative session. So I'll have that for our next meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So seconded.
Thank you.